Okay, very good. Welcome to the Red Hook Town Board meeting of Wednesday, May 29th, 7:30. Would you kindly join me in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all very much, and for the folks at home, would you kindly pan over to the screen so they can take a look at what we have on the agenda for this evening. We have a few applications that are subject to public hearings for a waiver under the moratorium that was enacted a couple months ago. At 7:35, at 7:50, we have a public hearing on a particular procedure regarding the sewer district. At 7:55, we have a public hearing on a proposal to establish a Town of Red Hook sewer district, and we will have a brief presentation by the engineers. So folks, you'll have an opportunity to take a look at that and pose questions and comments based upon that. For the agenda itself, we have the sewer district discussion, those waivers, resolutions to approve amended highway expenditures. We'll be authorizing a contract award for a paving schedule this season. We also have a resolution to award the bid for the Trails project on Cookingham West. As you know, the Cookingham farm has been mostly preserved. There are portions of it that are being used for other public purposes in addition to agriculture. On the west side, we have trails that will be connecting the Abrams Park with eventually Rec Park over entering on Linden Avenue. And then we have our department board and committee reports and some correspondence. So I will very quickly do a couple of announcements. First of all, our rec summer program begins. We're very proud of the fact that we're one of the few municipalities that offers a free summer recreation program for kids in the community. And we have sign-ups coming here at Town Hall June 8th and 15th, is that right, Christine?
Yep.
From 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. Those are Saturdays. And here's the program. If you're interested, we'll have all of this up on the website. We also did have a community info session last evening for the bridge replacement that is happening on Aspinwall. We received a grant from the Bridge New York program for 95% of the funding for that project, and we met with the community and showed the initial concept design from the engineers, and this is what they presented for input from the public in the neighborhood that utilize that bridge. As you can see, it retains some of the character with the stone walls entering and exiting on both ends, but allows for the flow that's necessary. As you all know, there's been significant flooding over that bridge. Congressman Pat Ryan is having a Veterans and Military Family Resource Fair that is happening this Saturday from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. Once again, another wonderful Memorial Day program by our own VFW here this week. We have our very popular, most of our spring events have concluded, but the very popular Shred Day is happening the following Saturday right here at Town Hall, 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. In the parking lot, we remind folks that there is a limit of 3 legal-sized boxes. We supposed to have a diagram here somewhere on announcements on the Cookingham, well, we don't have our image that we were supposed to have, but we were very excited to announce that Bill and I joined the governor's office today earlier down at FDR Library, and many of our colleagues, the Empire State Development. We have been awarded with our partner RUPCO $3.465 million for the Cookingham East project, the Red Hook Gateway project we're calling it. That is the development on the 12 acres on the southern portion of that property. It is for the infrastructure, the water, the sewer, and the roadways, so that that development, which is an affordable housing, both single-family ownership and multi-family units, so that development will be able to take place. So we're very happy about that, and I think very importantly, because we'll be talking tonight about grant funding and opportunities available for things like sewer throughout our TND district. Okay, with that being said, we have our first public hearing. We're getting started a little bit late, and we have sign-up sheets if you'd like to speak for any one of the public hearings tonight. We just ask that you come forward and sign up your name for the minutes, please. And remind you all, we ask that you keep your comments to 3 minutes to ensure that everyone has enough time to speak and that we can continue to conduct business throughout the evening. So we have our first public hearing at 7:35. Alex, would you be kind enough to read the public hearing notice, please?
Notice of public hearing, Town of Red Hook. Please take notice that a series of concurrent public hearings will be held by the Town Board of the Town of Red Hook on May 29th, 2024 at 7:35 p.m. or as soon thereafter as the matter comes before the Board at the Town Hall, 7340 South Broadway, Red Hook, New York, 12571, to hear all interested persons on the applications received on the dates set forth below from the applicants set forth below the hardship waiver of the provisions of Local Law Number 1 of 2024 entitled Local Law Placing Moratorium on Applications in the TND-CC Subdistrict, on applications in the subdivision of the AB District, and on applications affecting wetlands adopted March 27th, 2024. The request for waiver concerned the following: Gregory and Elizabeth Bathrick, 81 to 83 Club Drive, Country Club Drive, Chris Cavelli and Adrian Truscott, 39 Freeborn Lane, Daniel Leslie, 32 Gusky Road, and Joel Griffith, 227 Linden Avenue. Please take further notice that copies of said proposed waiver applications are available for review at the Town Hall, 7340 South Broadway, Red Hook, New York, 12571. All interested persons will be given the opportunity to be heard in person or by directing comments in writing to the Town Board, 7340 South Broadway, Red Hook, New York, 12571. All reasonable accommodations will be made for persons with disabilities. In such case, please notify the town clerk in advance of the above address or by phone 845-758-4606 so that arrangements can be made. By order of the Town Board of the Town of Red Hook, dated May 13th, 2024. Deanna Cochran, Town Clerk, Town of Red Hook.
Thank you very much, Alex. At this time, I'd like to make a motion to open those concurrent public hearings, please. Is there somebody?
Excuse me, aren't you gonna do the 15-minute before the public hearing session?
We can squeeze that in between this one and the next two.
Okay.
Is that okay? We'll give you an opportunity, Kenny,
Okay.
to squeeze in there. But we're running a little bit late for this one that we advertised at 7:35.
Thank you.
Okay, at this time, a motion to open the concurrent public hearings.
Second.
Okay, all in favor? Aye.
Aye. Aye.
All right. Alex, if you'd be kind enough to take a look at the list and see who's first up on these public hearings, please.
First up, we have Adrian Truscott.
Adrian,
Hi,
how are you?
I'm good
Good.
and short. I guess we are applying for a waiver should the Dutchess County extension of the wetlands buffer go from 100 feet to 300 feet to have a waiver because our current plans that are in process are within the 100 feet, but they would be outside of the 300-foot buffer zone, as I understand it.
Or did you mean that the other way around?
Sorry.
Which is that you'll be outside of the 100, but you'll be within the 300, should that be
Sorry,
relevant?
yes. If that were to pass, then it changes our building plans.
And that's New York State, just as a,
Yeah.
okay.
I think that's it.
That's all you got? And next up,
Gregory Beck? Hi, good evening. My name's Andrew Howard. I'm an attorney at Freeman Howard. I represent Gregory and Elizabeth Patrick. Gregory came from Maryland. We just wanted to briefly highlight our application. The significant thing for Greg and Elizabeth are this has been a parcel that's been in the Bathard family for over 200 years. He has sold his home. He and his wife has sold his home with the intention of coming back here to retire. And in connection with that, they've spent the last 3 years working through a series of approvals with their HOA, with the Red Hook ZBA, with the DEC. And the biggest update we wanted to provide, in case you didn't have it, is they did initially have a wetlands permit. It's been renewed as of May 13th this month.
okay.
So, you know, they basically demonstrated to the DEC that this residential construction would be in keeping with the neighborhood and would not be a threat to any sort of public safety or public health. And I don't know, Greg, if you have anything else to add.
Yeah, real briefly.
That's in perpetuity.
What's that?
That's in perpetuity.
I know your time is of the essence. I do want to thank everybody here for listening and giving full consideration. As mentioned, this will be our retirement home. I was born and raised here, have always wanted to come back here. I still have family here to help out. So,
Great. Thanks, Greg. Do we have anyone else on this list?
Let me just say, where do we get in here? I thought we were already under this, Robert. We're on process. You don't come up here talking again about it, right? About the waiver for the T&D. I mean, for the sewer project.
We're not on that public hearing. yet.
Right.
Okay. We'll be on that public hearing a little bit later. Right now, we're on particular applications that people have. put
Right,
forward.
but you don't have to come up and say it again, because I've already been at one of these meetings.
No, you don't need to speak, no.
Okay,
We've got you all squared away about, not to worry.
all right.
Okay. And would anyone else like to speak on these applications? Okay, thank you very much. With that being said, I'd like to make a motion that we close the public hearings that are related to moratorium waiver applications. Is there a second? Second. Thank you, Bill. All in favor? Jacob?
Can I just ask a question, actually? Do we, okay, never mind, we can close the public
Well,
hearing.
we're gonna take action
We're
later,
taking
but did
action
you?
on, well, do some of them need to remain open, is my question. Are we ready to take action on all, or do some of them need to be extended?
I think we're ready to take action on all of them. On Griffith has withdrawn the application. That's the one that we won't be taking action on. So yes, we are.
I had not seen material.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm sorry, what was the vote on that? Jacob?
Aye.
Julia? Christine? Thank you very much. Okay. Moving right along, why don't we do 15 minutes of public comment? Kenny, did you want some public comment? Sure.
Hi, Ken Miglielli. Is this on?
No.
I don't know that it is. It doesn't sound like it. You want to try the button, Kenny, there on the side there? Alex, do we have the system on? We do. We do.
You can't hear anything back there.
Okay. I'm just up to talk about the Cookingham West, and it's not about the trails, although I don't think I've seen a map on the trails yet, if it's taken any of the farmland. But I'm sure Robert has mentioned to the rest of the board, I've asked him several times about renting the Cookingham West, you know, till it comes up for an RFP. And I haven't gotten a response back. And I'm concerned because right now there's several weeds that are growing there that are going to be tough to deal with down the road. So, you know, it needs to be mowed and actively farmed to keep those weeds at bay.
Yeah.
I would put that on silent, please. Okay? And I know, Robert, you being a farmer would understand about these weeds, okay?
Yeah.
All right? So if you guys could get together and see if I could, you know, possibly rent that and you know, have the proper insurance to, when do you think the RFP will come up?
So, Kenny, we have decided that we are going to put in the fencing that's going to delineate the trails from the farmland
Right.
and not be interfering with the farmer operating. We're going to do that first before we offer the property for sale or for lease.
Okay.
Okay.
Are you taking away much farmland?
Kenny, we sent a map to everybody of what?
Okay, I haven't seen the map yet.
That was sent last year.
Oh, really?
Yeah. All right?
Well, I'd like you to get back to me about possibly farming for this season.
If we do an RFP to lease the land, you'll be on the short list of people to send to and obviously be sent out to everybody. 'Cause
Thank
that's
you.
the way we have to do it.
Thank you.
Yeah. Very good. Thank you, Kenny. Anybody else for just public comments? Sure, go ahead.
Yeah, this is Cookingham East more importantly.
Yeah.
I haven't seen any maps as far as what the intention is. Obviously, you've got the funding. I'd kind of like to know because our property really abuts that, as you well know, directly. It impacts that immensely.
Yeah.
And I'm just looking for info.
Sure. So, the process of development approvals will go through the Village of Red Hook because that's where the property is located. So the developer, Rupco, will first be meeting with the community and presenting their draft plans to get some feedback from the community. And I'm sure that they'll be reaching out to you as an adjoining property owner because now that infrastructure will be brought up from where it currently exists, that will also potentially benefit your property as well to have water and sewer, you know, be surrounding your parcel. But the specific development will still have to go through the normal approvals through the village. Okay?
Yep.
Okay.
And how soon are they, is that ongoing right now as we speak? I mean, you've
Not yet, we just had the announcement today,
okay.
so, and we're very happy to have that, and I imagine you're very happy to hear that, because it'll help out with that property. All right, anyone else for, public comments? Going once, going twice, all right. Very good, well, why don't we move right on into the 7:50, we'll catch up to being a little bit late. Public hearing.
Notice of public hearing, Town of Red Hook, Monroe hearing regarding sewer district number 1. Please take notice that the town board of the Town of Red Hook, Dutchess County, New York, will meet at Town Hall, 7340 South Broadway, Red Hook, New York, on the 19th day of May, 2024, 7:50 p.m. prevailing time, for the purpose of conducting a public hearing regarding the proposed sewer district number 1. The town board has reviewed a Part 1 environmental assessment form. The town board has adopted a resolution determining to act as lead agency for purposes of review under the State Environmental Quality Review Act, SECRA, and determining that the proposed project is an unlisted action. In conjunction with its review of the project under SECRA, the town board will undertake a review of the project in order to determine whether and to what extent Red Hook zoning laws apply to the proposed project, taking into account the 9 factors set forth in matter of County of Monroe versus City of Rochester as follows. 1, the nature and scope of the instrumentality seeking immunity. 2, the encroaching government's legislative grant of authority. 3, the kind of function or land use involved. 4, the effect local land use regulation would have on the enterprise concerned. 5, alternative locations for the faculty in less restrictive zoning areas. 6, the impact upon legitimate local interests. 7, alternative methods of providing the proposed improvement. 8, the extent of public interest to be served by the improvements. And 9, intergovernmental participation in the project development process and an opportunity to be heard. Please take notice that copies of the said EAF are available for review at the office of the town clerk, Red Hook Town Hall, 7340 South Broadway, Red Hook, New York, 12571. All interested persons will be given an opportunity to be heard in person or by directing comments in writing to the town board, 7340 South Broadway, Red Hook, New York, 12571. All reasonable accommodations will be made for persons with disabilities. In such case, please notify the town clerk in advance at the above address or by phone, 845-758-4606, so that arrangements can be made. By order of the town board of the town of Red Hook, dated May 13th, 2024, Deanna Cochran, town clerk.
Thank you, Alex. At this time, I'd like to make a motion to open the 7:50 public hearing. And for folks at home who are not familiar with what a Monroe proceeding is, it essentially is that the town board has determined that they should be the lead on doing the review, the environmental review for this proposed sewer district project.
Is that a motion?
Yes, that's a motion.
Second.
Okay, second by Christine. All in favor, Jacob?
Aye.
Julia? Bill? Okay. So as it relates to specifically the town being the lead on this, do we have any public comments to that effect?
No sign.
Do we have any signups? In 5 minutes, we'll have the other public hearing, which will be related to the sewer district itself. Okay. That said, we'll make a motion to close this particular public hearing.
Second.
All in favor, Julia?
Aye.
Christine?
Aye.
Jacob?
Aye.
Thank you all very much. All right, we are catching up. 7:55, and now we have a very long public hearing notice.
Notice of public hearing on proposal to establish Town of Red Hook Sewer District Number 1. Please take notice that the Town Board of the Town of Red Hook, Dutchess County, New York will meet at the Town Hall, 7340 South Broadway, Red Hook, New York on the 29th day of May, 2024 at 7:55 p.m. prevailing time for the purpose of conducting a public hearing upon the proposal by said Town Board to establish Sewer District Number 1 as described in the map, plan, and report on file with the Town Clerk, at which time and place said Town Board will meet to consider such proposal and hear all persons interested in the subject thereof and concerning the same. The following is a true and complete copy of the resolution and order calling such public hearing. Town of Red Hook, Resolution 34 of 2024, dated May 13, 2024. In the matter of the establishment of the Town of Red Hook Sewer District Number 1 to finance district improvements and authorizing construction of improvements, including a district collection system, connection to the Village of Red Hook sewer system, and expansion of the Village of Red Hook sewer treatment plant in the Town of Red Hook, in the County of Dutchess, State of New York, pursuant to Article 12-A of the Town Law. A resolution in order accepting a map, plan, and report and scheduling a public hearing pursuant to Sections 209-D of the Town Law, whereas at the request of the Town Board of the Town of Red Hook, Dutchess County, New York, the town, T&B Engineering and Landscaping Architecture, PC, a competent engineer duly licensed in the state of New York, the engineer, has prepared a map, plan, and report dated May 2024, the MPR, and such MPR has been filed in the office of the Town Clerk of the Town of Red Hook and submitted to the Town Board. And whereas the MPR provides for the creation of a new sewer district to be known as Sewer District Number 1, to include the property described at Exhibit A attached hitherto, generally described as being within a portion of the town in the TND zoning district south of the Village of Red Hook along Route 9, excluding the TNDR district located in west of Route 9 for the purpose of providing sewer service to the serve 51 parcels, 50 tax parcels in the town. And whereas the proposed improvements as further described in the MPR include construction and equipping of a collection system of approximately 10,123 linear feet utilizing a septic tank, effluent pump, step system, connection to the Village of Red Hook sewer system, and an expansion to the existing Village of Red Hook sewer treatment plant to provide capacity for an additional 50,000 gallons per day, and related improvements in equipment. And whereas the maximum amount proposed to be expended for the proposed improvements described in the MPR is $6,596,000. And whereas the estimated cost of hookup fees within the proposed Sewer District Number 1 is as follows: $20,000 to $35,000 depending on the size of the step tank, provided that to the extent of available funds, the base hookup fee, excluding specialized fees for site-specific requirements such as restaurant grease traps, may be included in the initial capital project and waived for properties hooking up within the initial designated construction period. And the MPR includes a detailed explanation of how the estimated cost of hookup fees was computed. And whereas a portion of the improvements inscribed in the MPR consists of the improvements to the village sewer system pursuant to a proposed intermunicipal agreement, IMA, in order to provide for us provide for use of such system in the proposed sewer district number 1. And the cost of expansion is anticipated to be paid in part by the village and in part by the town sewer district number 1 on the basis of a reasonable method of allocation based on the 50,000 gallons per day shared of dedicated capacity for the sewer district number 1 as described in the NPR. And whereas the plan of financing set forth in the NPR indicates that the town anticipates the issuance of its obligations pursuant to the local finance law to pay for the cost of the improvements, and whereas the proposed plan of financing is expected to result in a total annual cost of $2,602 to the typical sewer district number 1 property, assumed to be assessed capital costs based on 1 EDU, that being the mode of all properties in the proposed district for the first year in which operation, maintenance, debt service, and other charges and expenses are to be paid. And the NPR includes a detailed explanation of how such estimated annual cost was computed, and whereas the proposed plan of financing is expected to result in a total annual cost of $2,602 to the typical sewer district number 1 or 2 family residence property to be assessed capital costs based on 1 EDU, that being the mode of such residential properties in the district for the first year in which operation, maintenance, debt services, and other charges and expenses are to be paid. And the NPR includes a detailed explanation on how such estimated cost was computed, and whereas the proposed method of apportioning the cost of construction and improvement of sewer district number 1 is to assess the costs entirely against the lands benefited thereby, being the entire area of sewer district number 1, and to assess, levy, and collect costs from the several lots or parcels within such benefited area is just proportion to the amount of benefit which the improvement shall confer upon such lots or parcels based on the number of EDUs as described in the NPR. And whereas the NPR is on file in the town clerk's office and is available for the public inspection, and whereas the town board has hitherto declared the action to be an unlisted action pursuant to the State Environmental Quality Review Act, SECRA, and declared its intent to be the lead agency. Now therefore be it resolved by the town board of the town of Red Hook, New York, by the favorable vote of not less than a majority of all the members of the town board as follows. Section 1, the town board of the town of Red Hook hereby determines that the NPR is in compliance with the requirements of Section 209C of town law with regard to the establishment of sewer district number 1 and the improvements described therein. Section 2, the town board directs that the NPR be entered in its minutes and that it be made available to be reviewed by the public in advance of the public hearing scheduled herein in the office of the town Red Hook Town Clerk at the Town Hall, 7340 South Broadway, Red Hook, New York, during regular business hours. Section 3, the town board shall meet and hold a public hearing on May 9th, 2024 at 7:55 p.m. at the Town Hall, 7340 South Broadway, Red Hook, New York, to hear all persons interested in the subject concerning the establishment of sewer district number 1 with a maximum total estimated cost of $6,596,000, of which $2,143,000 is estimated to be allocable to the construction of the improvements to facilities in the village sewer district pursuant to the proposed intermunicipal agreement, and for such other action on the part of the town board with relation thereto as may be required by law. Section 4, the town clerk is hereby authorized and directed to cause a certified copy of this order to be published at least once in the Poughkeepsie Journal, the official newspaper of the town of Red Hook, the first publication thereof to be not less than 10 days nor more than 20 days prior to the date of the said public hearing. Section 5, the town clerk is further authorized and directed to post a certified copy of this order on the signboard in the town, maintained in the town hall not less than 10 days nor more than 20 days before the public hearing, and within the same time frame to mail a copy of this order to the property owners of record in proposed sewer district number 1 as set forth in Exhibit A, annexed to the 2. Section 6, at the public hearing, the town board shall hear all comments in regard to the proposed establishment of sewer district number 1 as described in the NPR. Section 7, this order shall take effect immediately. The Appendix A proposed sewer district parcels as well as the Appendix A proposed sewer district parcel summary, including the public hearing notice, are available at the front table here to view. Almost there. Please take further notice that a copy of said map, plan, and report is available to review at the Town Hall, 7340 South Broadway, Red Hook, New York, 12571. All interested persons will be given an opportunity to be heard or by directing comments in writing to the Town Board, 7340 South Broadway, Red Hook, New York, 12571. All reasonable accommodations will be made for persons with disabilities. In such case, please notify the Town Clerk in advance at the above address or by phone, 845-758-4606, so that arrangements can be made. By order of the Town Board of the Town of Red Hook, dated May 13th, 2024, Deanna Cochran, Town Clerk.
Thank you very much, Alex.
So that was, thank you, Alex, that was great, that was a lot to read. I just wanted to clarify one thing, that when you're going through the sections at the end, I think you misspoke and said the hearing was scheduled for May 9th, but it's actually in here for May 29th, which is tonight, so you didn't miss a meeting on this at all.
That said, we did have a presentation at our last meeting about this from our engineers. They're with us again tonight, and so you've been patient already tonight. We're going to ask them to do just sort of a brief recap for those of you, and I see that there are quite a few of you tonight that were not here at the last meeting, so that when you have time to make your comments during the public hearing, you'll have the benefit also of the information and the presentation involved. So with that being said, we have, who's starting off first, ladies? Erin Moore from Ty and Bond has been with us through the process, and folks, for background, for the last 4 years, the town has been endeavoring to get some grant funds to study extending the village sewer down into the commercial district and adjoining parcels in advance of the construction, so that we would be ready. We got a bit frustrated with not getting that funding, and we went ahead and we funded ourselves because we think it's so important to provide a safe way to treat the effluent. There are some very intense properties from the village border on down towards Hannaford, and for them to realize their potential and at the same time protect the underlying aquifer, central sewer is key. And so with that being said, Erin, would you be kind enough to just walk us through quickly for the folks at home?
Absolutely, Robert. Thanks so much. We are having deja vu here because I would love the presentation up versus the map planner report.
Okay.
Can that happen?
All right, well, I think we can do that. We can jump over.
Thank you. So I'm Erin Moore from Ty and Bond. Our office is right down the road in the village of Rhinebeck. I focus on water and wastewater and water and wastewater engineering. For quite a while, Ty and Bond's asked to look at and evaluate the wastewater system situation here within the town. So I'm going to describe quickly, there's 2 parts to that. So the first part is called a preliminary engineering report. And it's a question that says, is there needs? And if so, what are some alternatives to address those needs? Is everyone okay with my standing position? I feel like, Jacob, you've seen this before. Okay.
I can hear you too.
I feel more comfortable this way. Okay. So.
Just keep going, Erin, and I'll
Yeah.
hopefully get the right presentation up for you.
But it's got so this initial evaluation we did, it's got a very specific format. And the reason we do it in this format, is there need? If so, what are the alternatives? What are the costs and life cycle costs for these alternatives? What would be the implementation? It's a very prescribed format, and that's because we produced this document, like a big document, so we can use it to pursue grant funding. So I want everyone to keep in mind that we do have a bit of a chicken and the egg, as you're going to see. So then we take that, we consolidate it, and pretty much Alex read the entire map plan and report. I mean, we take that PER and consolidate it into this legal document that's used to form the district. But the goal with that first document is to pursue grant funding. However, I mentioned chicken and the egg. The other thing that most of the grant funding agencies also require is you have to be down the road. You have to start down the pathway of district formation before you'll be considered potentially for a grant. So we have costs, we're going to present them, that are based on 0 funding at all. But the goal is to be doing this so we can get into the process of receiving grant funding. So that's and without doing that step, you can't do the other step. So it's unfortunate, but that's where we are. I think everyone's goal is to, we're as engineers conservative with our dollar value, with our reasons why, how we'd approach this, and the goal is to make this really valuable, affordable system. So yeah, so I think I've talked through that. So here we are, preliminary engineering report. And then the next step is district formation. I'm going to talk through, just quickly, both of those things. And then the next steps down the road, if we proceed to the next steps, would be design of the system, construction of the system, and then its operation. We're not at those steps at all yet, so.
What are we looking at for time to get to those from where we are right now?
Well, the power's here as far as district formation. So if the district's formed, then you move on. Design of the system also, that's a more complicated question because it depends on what we're doing and who's doing it and at what time. And you're gonna see there's multiple entities involved here. So it's not all the town's control and town's direction. So what I think would be best, let me step through this process, and then I think the goal would be to open it for questions.
Yeah.
So again, I think I touched upon this. So preliminary engineering report, the first step, the really important document we use to pursue grant funding. Is there a need? If there is a need, what's the area? How much flow is it going to produce? What are the alternatives? And then we put it into a report with the opinion of probable cost. How much should it cost? I'm not going to talk as fast as Alex. I'm going to try. And really, where the initial, and before this it was recognized, but really some strong momentum for this was the 2011 Centers in Green Space Plan. And the goal of that formed these traditional neighborhood development.
That's not me.
I thought you were going to scold them. So the traditional neighborhood development zoning, and what that zoning did was to say, let's concentrate our dense zoning here in this area with the goal of preserving rural outside agricultural parcels. And it also with a goal of promoting economic development. And so the TND, traditional neighborhood development, it's got 3 different types of areas: residential, our commercial center, and then an office industrial parcel, and that's shown in brown and red and purple on that image. So, in addition, so what we know is that small parcels that are densely developed, they, while it might not look like there's failing wastewater, if there's not enough space, certainly then wastewater isn't treated adequately. And that can affect, there's a large portion of this area that is on individual wells, and the entire area is also over a very important aquifer. Many of the smaller parcels don't have enough room to really do the proper, if it was designed today, septic system, and certainly can impact each other and their neighbors. In addition to then the assistance, the ability to support economic development and preserve outside parcels, protecting the drinking water aquifer, which serves a large portion also of the village, is really important. So the benefits of a wastewater system, again, allowing the businesses to reach full capacity, encouraging growth in businesses to stay in the TND versus outside parcels, environmental protection by replacing failing and undersized, and also just outdated septic systems, and promoting sustainable community development, which is positive not just for the folks in the area, but the entire town. So the system has the potential to be beneficial. Then we proceed to the next step, and that's delineation. And I think probably tip the hand on where the delineation is. The delineation is the traditional neighborhood district, with the exception of one part. So let's call it, there's 2 residential sections of the TND. The western portion of the TND has a new wastewater system that was recently constructed, and it's administered by Dutchess County Water and Wastewater. That is a compliant system that there's no need for additional wastewater services in that area. So that western residential area was dropped, and the remainder of the TND was used as the potential service area. So now, next step, develop flows for the area. So outlined in green, there's a northern portion of the town that is served by the village's drinking water system. So in that case, for those parcels, we have specific drinking water data. But the majority of the potential district to the south, we use New York State Department of Environmental Conservation standards that dictate, for instance, 110 gallons per day per bedroom of a residential house. For each different type of use, there's a large chart that shows you what the anticipated discharge is, and that's how that was estimated. Based on these two sources, the existing flow for the proposed service area, 28,500 gallons per day. So then we looked at, well, what could the future flows to the area be? And we identified, we used a bunch of methods to do this. Single family residential, we assumed that's staying as it is. An existing commercial with greater than 20% lot coverage, 10% of additional flow. And then the rest of these are based on the zoning criteria for the TND. So what is the maximum use of this parcel, often vacant or very smallly, minimally developed parcel? And using all these methodologies, we end up with a future flow of 115,000 gallons per day as a future potential flow from this service area. So there's a really big difference between 28,500 and 115,000. Those are two very, very big numbers difference. And developing for 150,000 gallons per day would be a whole lot of capacity and not too many users to support that financially. So we strongly recommended to the town a phase one of 50,000 gallons per day. That provides for a 75% increase over existing flows. And then with the acknowledgement that in the future up to 115,000 gallons per day could be developed at a later time, again, working in concert with some of our alternatives we're going to discuss. So again, we must have different alternatives we must consider. Connection to the village system was one alternative, and construction of a new wastewater treatment system within the town, separate from the village, was considered. And then we looked at different collection systems and treatment systems to do so. So the collection system recommended for consistency with where it's most cost effective to move forward is a septic tank effluent pump system. This is also the village's collection system. Solids remain in the septic tank. They continue to be pumped by a licensed DEC septic hauler, which reduces the impact on the treatment system as there isn't a strong amount of solids handling that happens at the treatment plant, but it does require a connection to parcel electricity. So we looked at, and again, the alternative of connecting to the village wastewater treatment plant. There is no additional capacity right now for the town or for any other parts of the village. They have, they're at capacity. Currently, the village is engaged with their own engineer on how to expand the village plant and what the potential is for that expansion. At this point, it's likely to be what's called an MBR, membrane bioreactor, which is actually a very small footprint technology, so they can use that parcel that's existing to its maximum use. And it's also very easily designed for phased expansion, which would allow additional modules in the future should there be additional need. So we looked at both of these alternatives. The new town wastewater treatment plant was substantially more expensive than connecting to the village wastewater treatment plant. So we let that alternative, do not recommend that alternative, and recommended connecting to the village system. The cost estimated for this is based we've come up with some very similar numbers based on when they built the system, but their engineer was able to give us sort of where they stand right now as far as $6 million for their 140,000 gallon per day expansion. So that means for our needs here, it'd be $6.6 million to do the phase one, and $12 million if you were to build the whole thing at once. And so the preliminary engineering report concluded, the best alternative is to connect to the village and do a phased approach in that. Okay, so that is the analysis in the preliminary engineering report. The next step moving forward is district formation, and that's where we are right now. Do we form a sewer district? And I started out explaining it's complicated because you can't pursue grant funding to lower the cost unless you form a district. That's a requirement of the grant funding agencies. So it's a little challenging. The map planner report is a succinct document that takes everything of the analysis in the PER, describes the wastewater system, and provides the user costs. District formation also involves intermunicipal agreement between the town and village, the State Environmental Quality Review Act, so that there's environmental quality review, the resolution to form the district, and then acceptance of the whole district formation by the New York State Comptroller. So the map planning report, introduction, what's the project need? How would it be organized? We've covered that. The description of the sewer district and the facilities, the district delineation, and then the wastewater system and collection and treatment system costs. How would it be paid for, and any other legal considerations. So this is I think this is the image that was at the front here. This is the same kind of TND map we've seen in the red and the purple and the brown, except now highlighted, and there's a number applied to each parcels. But these are the parcels that are in the proposed sewer district. The sewer district generally, we would want to connect wherever the septic, should we continue with this type of system, the sewer district where the wastewater systems currently leave, and we don't know where that is right now because we haven't been on all your basements. So we're assuming at each of these green circles is where there would be a connection in tank and pump, but that would be something that would really be determined during the design phase. And then a force main to connect back into the village to the village wastewater treatment plant, which is, there's an arrow pointing to that location right now. Thanks. So I think I mentioned this cost already. So construction costs, standard engineering, design, and construction percentages, local council, a 20% contingency. So again, we didn't, and then a financing cost, which is based on utilizing the Clean Water State Revolving Fund loan source, which typically provides low interest loans for this type of infrastructure project, but there is a financing cost involved with that. So all of those items combine to the $6.6 million cost I mentioned previously.
And Erin, just to confirm, that's the bottom line before any grants would be awarded.
There's no, yeah, the only financing number is a loan, is loan for the total amount, no grant funding at all. So the sewer district must be paid for by the users in the area. No one outside that can be paying for it. And there's two costs, capital costs and then operation and maintenance costs. The use fees are, so how we developed this was use fees consistent with how the village approached this, with it, which is a use fee based on flow. All connections will be metered. Obviously at this point we don't have metered data for a good portion of the system. But use is always revisited on an annual basis to understand what is the actual use, and it's in increments of 150 gallons per day. Again, using the water system data or initially the New York State DEC guidelines. A single family residence is always one EDU, which is again similar to the village approach. So there's a equivalent dwelling unit is an EDU. So it's a portion of flow that's equal to what a typical flow for a single family residence is considered. So it's kind of jargon, it's kind of wastewater jargon, but EDU is typically how in New York State many people fund and charge for wastewater systems, so. 193 EDUs are in the town area. And of course, as more development or different businesses are operational, more EDUs equal less cost per EDU. So that as different folks choose to do different things with their parcel, it increases the amount of EDUs and lowers the cost. So here's the simple math. 6.6 million equals a debt service of, so in other words, just like a mortgage, right? Over 30 years at a 4% interest rate of $381,000 a year that the town owes to pay off this debt, divided over the total number, 193 EDUs, is a capital cost of $1,980 per EDU. And then the O&M cost is currently, again, conservatively based on what the village, as the operators of the system, have indicated would be the cost, which is right now estimated at $622 per EDU for a total cost of $2,602 a year per one unit of
I got a
water.
question regarding that. Suppose the guy has a 4-unit apartment building or something, would that be 4 EDUs or 1?
There's a good methodology, we've done it now. I'm trying to think if it's 3/4 per unit. We'll go back to that question. But one EDU is a single family house. There is, apartments are slightly different value.
I would think, yeah.
So we're so close, we're so close.
Really?
We're so close.
Really?
Yeah, we're real close, we're real close. So,
Not at all.
getting through this. Legal considerations, the formation by town board motion, seeker compliance, and the State Historic Preservation Office review. Obviously, future easements would be required for this. And additionally, any wastewater project is reviewed by New York State Department of Environmental Conservation and Dutchess County by their, for the compliance with regulations.
Okay,
I think there's
one more?
two more.
Two more.
So again, the preliminary engineering report used to obtain grant financing, we've described that document. The map plan report is complete, and then these other topics, we are following through on the different aspects of the district formation phase, including this public meeting. And I think there's one more. So, the grant that's immediate is the intermunicipal grant. It is due on June 14th. It can provide up to 40% of the capital costs, so that's one of the things we're steadily moving ahead. We're trying to get just to that timeline so we can apply for that grant. And then the other grant opportunities, USDA Rural Development, congressional directed funds, Empire State Development, and then there's some new, we're investigating some pro-housing community grants we're looking at.
What do you guess?
All right, now you have to,
All
wait, you've got folks in the back who
I
asked.
wanna
So,
zero in on the
I'm
cost.
not supervising the question and answer. Someone's gonna be the moderator here. So that concludes talking through the different aspects of those two documents. And I'm gonna turn it back over to Robert to set the format for what goes on next.
Very good. Okay, and thank you all for your patience. I know that, questions like how much could we expect with grant funding are going to be important for you folks to know, because you want to know what the ultimate cost to you will be, not just how much the cost is divided by 193. If you did join us a little bit late, we did have an announcement that today we were awarded from the governor's Mid-Hudson Momentum Fund $3.465 million for the Red Hook Gateway project at the north end of the village on 12 acres of Cookingham Farm that isn't being permanently protected. Those monies are to be used for water and wastewater and road infrastructure necessary for that development to occur, and we're very excited about that. Aaron mentioned that we do have a grant application that we're about to prepare, intermunicipal grant for 40% of capital costs. There are plenty of other grant opportunities ahead of us, and we understand obviously that the cost to you on an annual basis, as you think about it, and the cost to you should you be either mandated by county health or state, or just because your system fails and you need to do an individual septic, you'll need to balance those two numbers in your head and decide for yourself whether or not you're supportive of having central sewer go through this corridor, the utility to the property, versus if you have to work around an individual septic. And I guess what I would last say, and then open it up to you, because we really want to hear from you tonight, is you may have a perfectly fine individual septic system on your property, but I can tell you, having had a catastrophic failure right here at Town Hall not 2 years ago, what happens on your neighbor's property may also impact you as well. So there's benefits if we can work together on this and get the cost down. There's benefits to forming a district and creating central sewer. That said, more importantly, we want to hear from you tonight, and we will, just so you know, we will be extending this public hearing until June 11th. So if you think of something later on tonight that you wanted to tell us, or if you want to put it in writing, please feel free to do so and forward to us. We want your thoughts on the matter. So, with that said, did we motion to open this? Let's do that, shall we, Christine? Would you motion, please?
Yes, I move that we open the public hearing on establishing sewer
Jacob?
district number 1.
Second.
All in favor, Julia, Bill, myself, aye. Okay, who do we have first up for tonight? And thanks, folks, all, if you've signed up, we're going to the list of order.
So here we have Glenn and Linda Kuhn. Sorry.
Robert, couldn't we have questions for Aaron first that are just questions?
We can do it all. Why don't we have the comments from the people who signed up, and then I'll
Well,
grant.
they're not really
another.
comments, they're questions.
Questions is fine too, so Aaron will take those as
Okay.
well, okay?
So who am I addressing my questions to?
Well, you address everything to the board, and then
Okay.
we'll ask the engineer.
All right, so
if
first
he
we'll
can
start out with our
participate.
names.
Sure.
Glenn and Linda Kuhn. We own 7306 South Broadway. We own 9 Metzger Road. We own 17 Metzger Road, and we own 23 Metzger Road.
With all perfect septic
So,
systems.
I just want to go over a few things. I understand grant funding, that's the money that gets the system installed, which is great. But that doesn't really help us with our long-time tenants. I did the math, it'd be $216 a month to our tenants. A single mother with 1 daughter, a retired veteran, and an elderly couple. So now Glenn and I have to go to them and say, you have to pay us $206, because we can't absorb those costs. That wouldn't be fair to us, would it? To absorb for all these tenants that we've had all these years that have maintained our homes and we maintain our homes. I understand the grant money will get the sewage system in, which is great, but after that, you guys are done, the sewage system is in. Now we're left with paying for the sewage system each month. We have 4 septic systems, one on a brand new house. 9 Metzger Road is a brand new house. And you started your letter by saying, by now you have heard. We didn't, Glenn and I didn't hear that. We're working every day. We didn't hear. In the village, I saw you putting in a sewage system, but Glenn and I are the town of Red Hook. We're not the village of Red Hook. So that, by starting out your letter that way, I didn't hear anything, and I did not hear her presentation at last month's meeting because I didn't get a letter till May 15th. So you see where maybe we're upset with that, because we own 4 properties. And this will really affect our tenants severely, and us. Our systems are working, they're not costly and disruptive failures, as your letter stated. We don't have costly and disruptive failures. And my other question is, do we not use our wells anymore? Who can answer that?
Okay, so we'll do our best to try and address your questions, Linda. first on notice. We often hear, this is the first I'm hearing about something when we are first presenting something. So I understand that. We have sent over the years, and we want to remind folks, this is why it's so critical. You sign up on our website. We've had now for 7 years. We've been telling people, please sign up for notifications, because what's going to happen is you're going to come one day about something that's important to you or passionate and say, this is the first I'm hearing about it.
Well,
But if you're signed up
Not
for
everybody has their noses into computers and phones. We're working people, so we're not really, you know,
I understand.
so we're not in tune to your emails.
It's a simple
I'm sure it's
process.
simple. I'm
It's a
sure it's
simple
simple.
process. So
But we
I'm
didn't
just-
get the last notice because we wouldn't have had to hear her whole grant proposal thing again if we had heard it the first time, as
Sure,
most
sure.
of these people probably
Well,
didn't hear it.
that's why we're continuing. It's a
Okay,
process.
so I'll
we're
sign
doing.
up for that. All
Yeah,
right,
so-
go on
so-
to your next point.
So that's what, this is not about central water, although there has been an effort to bring central water down for those who were interested in having water. This is not about central water.
All right, so
This is about.
another key question is, can we just say we don't want this?
Okay, Erin, do you want to address the mandatory nature of joining the sewer district?
If, and this is more legal and plumbing code than judgment call, but if a district is delineated, it's typically within the health departments and New York State Plumbing Code requirement to require connection if you are in that district.
Well, we are in the TND district.
We used to be the B2.
We used to be the B2.
They just changed it.
Now we're the TND. And when we built the cottage, it's not even 1 year old yet. Why didn't they tell us this? This is what we're very upset at. That
Yeah.
septic system was very expensive and it's brand new.
Yeah.
You could see why Glenn and I are upset about this.
So Linda, the same happened with the village system, the same happens with every central sewer and central
We don't
water.
have a lot of money. We can't afford to absorb $216
Linda, I
times
want to address your
4.
questions,
Okay,
okay?
go ahead.
So I need an opportunity to do that.
Okay.
There is no central sewer system or central water system that gets established when everybody has been existing with legacy systems for 20 or 30 years. It's just the nature of when you go through a district, it can't hopscotch over properties. There will be people who have had a cesspool for 30 or 40 or 50 years on a property, may or may not be functioning properly. There'll be businesses, we have a business right here today who had to put an expensive system in. And then there'll be homeowners who have just put one in, the Red Hook Inn just put one in before the central sewer was put in the village. It's unfortunate, but it's a reality of it. So now let me get to your next question about costs. You've expressed a certain dollar amount. Again, we have, and I'll be happy to share with everyone, there's a strategy we have for how to get those costs down, and it's multifold, it's not just grants. Okay, we're sensitive to that. That's why we pose the question to you, because you'll have benefit, because you will be with a property that's connected to the central district. You will have greater utility. You have, I think, one cottage on your property. You may be able to do more with your property now once you hook up to central sewer than with water. There may come a time where you decide you don't want to own that property, but the next owner is like, wait, you're hooked up to central sewer? Fabulous, I want to buy
We
the
only
property.
kind of can focus on
I understand.
right now.
I understand, but understand our job is not to focus on just now. Our job is to focus on, and again, I would suggest to you, look around. We've had lots of failures, we've had lots of septic issues throughout this corridor, Route 9 up and down. So what I would say to you is that we are trying to look as a community and also trying to look at all of you as individual property owners with commercial and residential properties and trying to do our best. But I will address the cost issue once we hear from more people.
But I just
okay?
have a quick question
Yeah.
for Ms. Kuhn. Your financial analysis, is that predicated on the $2,602? So remember that number is divided, 600 is for the annual operating and maintenance. The other portion, the big portion, is for the construction. And even if we just got the IMG grant from the state of New York, that would cover 40% of that. And then we're exploring the others. So you have to think about it as how much can we get that big number down?
But that doesn't roll into the monthly cost.
No, it
though.
will not.
Well, I'm gonna address that for you.
Wait, yes.
Of course you
Yeah,
can.
it does. We can
Yeah.
let's go back up.
But if you don't get the second grant,
Yeah, Linda, we're gonna
And
address
they
that
get
for
denied
you.
those
yeah,
grants.
you could,
We're
you
gonna,
could
we're
get the
we're
6
gonna,
million.
we're gonna address, folks, allow us an opportunity to respond to your questions. We're gonna address that for you.
You
The
see
first
why we're
thing-
worried, right?
Of course I see where you're worried. You're looking at additional costs. And we're asking you to look at whatever those additional costs might be as compared to additional costs you might have by not being a part of the district. And that's all we're asking.
But if we're
is
not
for
part
the
of it, then we're just responsible for maintaining our own septic system.
That's what we're asking you to.
We want to opt for that.
No, okay, but Linda, let me, I'll address the operation and maintenance thing, and Erin will participate with me when we do that. But I want to get some more comments from folks so we can try to address everybody's questions that they have, if we could. All right, thank you. And do come back if we haven't addressed it, Linda. Who's next up?
Marty and Elizabeth.
Yeah.
Marty, you're next.
Oh, I'm anxious.
Marty, I hope you walk.
I can tell you a little story about costs.
Yeah.
So we own a property in the village, and
Yeah.
when that system was put in, they said, well, your cost will probably be an extra $100
Per quarter.
per quarter, right?
Is that for sewer or for water, Marty?
For sewer.
They told you it'd be $100 a
Extra
quarter?
on
In
the
the water bill.
okay? So $600 later each quarter,
Over 600
over 600.
each quarter.
So when you're up here predicting what the cost is and stuff, it's meaningless. You know, it's more, like, for example, we have a property, 29-35 on Mexico Road, 10 families. Those people are hardworking people, and for us to go to them and say, well, your rent's gonna go up, you know, we eat every single year just about, we eat increase in taxes on school budgets and stuff like that. We can't give them anymore. They're hardworking people, they can't afford what they have now. Low, you know, you talk about affordable housing, well, you might need some more customers because they won't be able to afford it. You know, it's crazy. And Metzger Road is all item 4. That whole section is great drainage. And the properties, we have 4 acres, and all the properties on Glen Ridge are basically new houses, so their systems are all good. Why did you choose Metzger Road? I don't understand that.
It's in the traditional neighborhood district, and
Well,
it has the
well-
potential, Marty, has the potential for additional development. And of course, that is something that you all will weigh in your minds when you decide whether or not you'd like to support it, is whether or not you would like to have, either for yourselves or for a future generation or a future owner, additional development and flexibility for those properties.
I think the majority of people on Metzger Road like it the way it is. That's what I believe.
Okay.
That's why we're all here.
That's why they're here. And they have ample room on their properties for these, there is not, if you know, the main road going down with all the businesses, yeah, you can, I agree, you should have a septic, you know, a universal septic system for that. But make us pay for that when we can't pay for it. Absolutely can't pay for it,
Okay.
right? That's about all I have to say.
Agreed.
Okay, thank you. Next up?
John Fragala.
Good evening. There was the amount of 20 to 35,000 for the hookup on this area. How do you come up with that money if you're not, how are you going to be paying for this, to the first thing? Secondly, I've got a commercial building here, has 2 bathrooms in it, not showers, stalls, or any of that, just 2 toilets. How am I going to come up with a $20,000 bill to hook up to that. And the septic system that's been there has been working perfectly fine. If you go and replace a septic system, any of them, even with a 4-bedroom house, you're looking at maybe $20,000 on the furthest thing if you had no system there at all. To repair an existing system, maybe you're looking at 10 grand. Why am I gonna
John,
go
let
into
us-
adding this as a $20,000 or $30,000 charge, and then an additional $2,600 a year for the sewer hookup? Everything's working perfectly fine.
So John, let me address, because to clarify for you, you would not be paying for that. One of the benefits of joining the district is everybody gets new equipment.
I'm sorry?
Everybody gets new equipment as part of this project.
What do you mean by new equipment?
All new septic tanks, right?
Can I?
Yeah,
You don't need something.
hang on,
I just want to clarify.
Aaron wants to clarify.
Exactly. This is a important topic from many different aspects. It's an important process from a legal aspect. And legally, should someone need to connect in the future after the period of the district formation and construction is done, you need to put a dollar value, and that's a legal requirement to put a dollar value
Okay.
on it. That would include all the, is your house close to the road? Is it far away? Is not, I don't really want to know. I don't really want to know.
No, you're
Me,
talking
I'm
about
saying-
from the street to your
Yeah,
property?
see, but I don't know, because it's a range. Is it going through a driveway or not? Is it someone coming out to look at it? It's got to be an all-encompassing cost. But it's a cost that must be stated for anyone who is not in it, but then in the future said, I want to be in it. That dollar value is completely considered in the monthly cost. There is no hookup fee for anyone who's in the initial district formation. But legally, we're required to say in the future, should someone connect, what that value would be. And we don't know what kind of parcel would want to connect, so you need to make sure it's a sufficient range to cover those different
So
scenarios.
if I decided that I didn't want to hook up to that, I wouldn't be charged the $20,000?
No. No one's charged the $20,000 unless in the future, at some point, post-construction, the system's built and then said, I want to hook up now.
Okay.
That's the estimate we've put on the value to do that. But it is encompassed in the 2602 annual cost.
Can
And
you
they-
speak
So
to
we
the
have a choice.
equipment that, each property owner will get?
Yes, so there's no assumption of
So we-
reuse of a
Not in
septic
the
tank.
TN.
I'm sorry?
There's no reuse of assumption of any septic tanks or it's.
That's taken under consideration, everybody's going to hook up.
Exactly.
So for those of you who have had folks at the back, Linda, I'm going to attempt to address some other questions you've had. You spoke about existing operable systems. I want to remind you that were you to decide that you did want to support this effort, that you would have new equipment so that you would think about the life expectancy now that you would have new equipment. I think you mentioned you had maybe 3 parcels or something like that that are included. 4 parcels? Well, 4 parcels that they would all have new equipment. And
But what happens to our existing septic systems? Do
Aaron,
they
do
dig
you-
those up?
No,
Aaron, do you want to address that?
they don't.
Well, one value of it
You could hook up
is,
into the system for us, right?
one value of it is that often there are parcels where quite a bit of their parcel is taken up by the disposal portion of the system. A septic tank doesn't take up much space, but, and that's unusable. You can't build on a septic system.
Because of the fields.
Yeah, that is that part of your parcel is returned to you for your use in something else. So if you've always
Is that
wanted.
counted in your green space?
Say it again?
Is that counted in your green space if you remove the septic system that we had? Is it now added back into your green space?
So, do you want me to answer?
Yeah, go ahead.
Coverage.
So I'm Brandy Nelson. I'm also one of the town's engineers, but I handle more of the planning and zoning items. So this question you're asking is more in that line. So when you are connected to the municipal sewer, the land that had been allocated for your septic field can be built upon depending on what the zoning is, right?
But if it's
So
not
up to the-
removed though, right?
Up to the,
You can't build
typically,
over an old septic system.
you build through them, they get demolished
You
as
build
you
through them.
build through them.
But we as the homeowner would pay for that.
Well, it would be part of whatever your construction costs are, you know, if you're
So
adding an
we would
additional
pay for it
cottage.
then. So you wanted to put a shed where your old septic system, we would have to pay to remove that to put the shed on it.
People build over septic fields
They do.
all the time, but, you know, it depends on what kind of construction you're gonna have, right? So if it was a garden shed, of course you would just place it on top of the ground. If you were building, you know,
Something
an
with a
additional dwelling
foundation.
unit, then you'd put a foundation, and it'd be a different story. So it really depends on what the particular scenario is. But that space becomes developable to the
They
extent
used to
allowed
call
by
it
the
green
zone.
space. Right? Right? Yeah.
And lastly, is a commercial property added in with that 1.9 gallons or 1.5 gallons? What was, for like
150?
150 gallons, is that considered just for a home? And if you're commercial, you're automatically into a larger range?
Some commercial units are 1 EDU as well, others are multiple of that, depending on the two estimation methods that I discussed.
Okay, so if you only have 2 toilets in the place, are you still part of a commercial area that might use 3 or 5 toilets or showers or whatever?
This is getting very specific, and we'd have to look at your parcel specifically, but it depends if you are in the area that has water use associated with it, and we can look at that data, or in the area where we needed to use New York State DEC to estimate your water
Okay,
usage.
so the town water is being supplied now?
Village water is being supplied to a portion of the town, and you're in that area?
Yes, right across the street.
So based on your usage, your existing usage is how many EDUs were assigned to your parcel, and you can look up per parcel what that is.
And it's important to reiterate for folks, this is for the first year. This is the initial allocation. As the district gets built out, and we already know of property owners who want to develop within the district, the number of EDUs goes up, and in theory, the cost per EDU continues to go down. We'll be joining a district. I'll be speaking to that issue and how, you know, one of the strategies we have to get those costs down. But simply, to answer your question, it's going to be based upon flow once the system is up and running, because obviously then we'll have the data so that everybody can feel that, you know, it's fairly allocated.
And lastly, if it were that 20,000 to hook up, how long do you have to pay that back? Does it have to be paid back immediately, or are you going to extend that out over 5 years, 6 years?
No,
whatever?
again, it's to the 20,000. If you decide,
Right, if I decide to hook up.
if you are
not-
not,
You don't have to pay that.
wait, hang on. So if you are not in the district, but you decide you want to join the district, you're outside of the district, your property is within it, but if you were to be just outside and decide you wanted to join, you would then have to pay for all of the costs associated with joining. This is your opportunity now to get central sewer, have somebody else take care of it for an annual basis, pick up the phone when there's a problem, have it addressed. The reason I'm making this point, and I want to make it clear to all the folks here, because I want you to understand, you know, some of the thinking that I would have if I were a property owner in the district. We just had a catastrophic failure here at Town Hall a year and a half ago. It cost us $60,000 to remedy the situation with the septic. At 5% interest on $60,000, there's a cost associated that we missed out on, right? So we missed out on $3,000 a year of interest in the bank because we had to cough up all at once a certain amount of funds in order to do these systems. And it's going to get harder and harder. There are some intensely developed properties in this district. And while we don't regulate health, the county does and the state does. I think you can see the winds and the way they're blowing, and that there'll be mandates, and you may wake up one day and be forced to do something very expensive on your property. And then this opportunity will have passed us by collectively as a community. So we're asking you to consider whether or not you'd like to support forming the district first. We'll go out and get the grants, we'll go out and negotiate the operations and maintenance fees and so on and so forth, so that it becomes much more attractive to you all, but also gives you the resiliency and the comfort of mind of what's transpiring underground on your particular property and also on the properties next to you. Because a failing septic system is probably one of the worst things for your tenants, whether they're residential or whether they're commercial, and not all of it can be easily remedied. So consideration for that, John.
Lastly, can this be put to a vote for everybody that's in the town?
Well, John, that's what we're doing right now, is asking you all
Public
whether...
vote, going to a poll and voting.
It will not go to a public vote, because only you, 50 parcels, are deemed to be benefiting from having the ability to have central sewer. You all, we're looking to you to see if you would support this. We think it's critical, we think it's in the community's best interest. Obviously, it's important what you all think, because ultimately, you'll be part of that decision. But it will not go to a community vote. No, that's not how the law works on that. Next up.
Mike Levy.
Hi, how are you?
Mike.
How you doing?
Good to see you.
Just a general question.
Yes.
So the $2,600 it's not inclusive of any of the grant money that would reduce that $2,600 accordingly.
That's correct.
But that, whatever that may be, whatever that grant money, it'd be minus that, and it'd be recurring every year. Is that correct?
So yes, there
That
will
is
be,
correct.
there will be
That's
an
correct.
annual cost to your property or properties associated with having central sewer, with having the benefit of picking up the phone and having somebody else take care of your septic issues, problems, or what have you.
Yeah.
Yes, so there'll be an annual cost.
So, not a hypothetical, where my septic system is located at my house. By the way, I'm 30 Metzger Road, Red Hook. It's got, the current septic system is in a pretty unusual spot. So there wouldn't be any cost to me incurred for the connection from the road to whatever or wherever they have to connect into my septic system. Do they connect directly into the septic system?
The assumption is.
There's no more septic.
There's no more septic, I got that.
You have a septic tank still?
Yes.
Right now, these costs ensue brand new septic tankage at every parcel, connecting to piping coming out of your basement, easement to be able to maintain that septic tank, piping all the way to wherever the force main is. Again, that's the design stage where you figure that out. All of that cost is included in the costs that are presented here. Your first comment was, the only way I can.
I have a very unusual property.
Yeah.
That's what the way my septic is set up. I put
So the field portion, though, is useless.
It's useless.
Essentially becomes useless,
Yeah.
and you could use it maybe for something.
No,
for a
I
shed.
just I would. Maybe my grass grows really good in it right now. Anyway, so I have a very usual system with a very usual tank location. So that's really what I'm trying to determine. There would be some significant amount of capital expenditure that would have to be done in order to even connect to.
But not by you.
But not by me.
But not by you. That is
No,
all
I
built into
I
the
understand
cost
that, I
of the
understand.
project. And so that's one of the benefits, even if you're not excited about being on central sewer, is you get all new equipment. And so, in theory, you have the ability to rely on that system and not have to worry about that and any potential impacts on your
Right.
property or any ensuing regulation that may
Right.
be coming down the pipe.
For example, if it's $2,600 a year minus the grants, and I'm just trying to run the numbers through my head, right now, I have my septic system pumped out once a year. And that septic fee would cost me between $400 or $500,
Yeah.
right? And some of and I'm on a commercial property, I do it twice a year, so that's like $800. So I understand where you're at, and I understand where the homeowners are at too, but they also have to weigh, everybody has to weigh the fact, what's the bottom line off of that $2,600, right? And I don't know if you can give us a solid answer on that.
We
And
can't.
that, because you don't know what the grant, so you got, like you said, you have to put it in place and create the zone before you're allowed to tell us what the grant money is. So it is a real catch-22, I get it. But if you had it, is there are we looking at I'm not asking for a specific number, right? Are we looking at, what potentially could we looking at if we're,
Michael, I wish I could give you that answer, but
Okay.
all I will do is at that point is put my foot in my mouth, and I'm not going to do that. I will just say to you, we've had really good success with grants. I can't lead you to think that we're going to have super low numbers. If you were here earlier, you heard an announcement that we just received $3.465 million for the Red Hook Gateway project. For this type of infrastructure. Suffice it to say, I'm going to give you a list in a couple of minutes of all the things we're going to do to try and get that number down.
Okay.
But I also want you to consider, while you're trying to guess what the number is going to be, I want you to try and guess what it's going to cost you to redo that septic system, because you might be surprised what that number is. Because we have people we have people in the district who are facing six-figure numbers to replace their individual septic fields.
So potentially, going back to one other question I had, I also have a commercial property on Route 9G. So if, for example, I wanted to connect to that system, or if the system was available at the 9G or my 9G location, so I could connect to something like that for approximately $20,000.
Oh, that's way too far away.
That's
You would
not
not be
even
able
gonna
to
happen.
connect to that.
That's not even the potential. I just don't think that.
We're starting in the commercial
What's that?
corridor.
You'd be long gone before that ever happened.
No.
Forget it, buddy.
It's been a long road, man. Isn't that the truth? Anyway.
Okay, we'll try and keep your drinking water nice and clean until such time so you live a long, healthy life. Okay? Marty, let's just make sure everybody's had a chance to speak the first time. Is there somebody, Alex, on the list?
Todd Barrett.
Todd Barrett. I think I know the name.
Aaron, thank you. Nice
Thanks, Todd.
presentation, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Hello?
I think
No.
so, yeah. It is.
Okay.
It's subtle.
You don't need
It's
that.
subtle.
Could you go back to the numbers page, it's probably like 10 back, please? Thanks.
Right there.
This one?
Did I introduce myself?
No.
Todd Bayrite. Where's the 2.2?
Yeah, it's the next slide.
Next one on
There's the 6.5, but where's the 2.2?
Yeah, hold on.
There's the 2.2. 2.6?
2006.
Oh, 2006, then go back to the other one then. Hold on, where's the, go back down. No, the other one. Yeah, yes, I found it. Okay, where's the rebuild the village sewer plant? Why is it?
Oh, you want to see the breakdown of the
No, where is it?
construction cost?
Oh, it's in the construction
Yeah.
cost? 2 million is in the construction cost, so there's only like 2 million left for all the pipes, and all the tanks, and all the pumps, and all the boring? Really?
It's a low bidder.
That's huge.
Well, there's 20% contingency in here, and just.
I'm glad there's $1 million extra.
By the way,
We're gonna need that.
by the way, it's also based off of what the construction project just was in the building.
It's based on the village bid form.
This is much smaller than the village sewer system. Just so you know, this will run about 3/4 of a mile
But
in
you
one
use like the
direction.
distances and the
Straight
number
line.
of tanks, and you did the ratio, and you
Absolutely.
came up with like 2.5 million for the
The
construction.
village system goes 4
Okay.
different directions.
All right, so
It's
it's
a mile
in
and
there,
a
it's
half.
in the construction cost to
Absolutely.
rebuild the sewer plant. Cool,
Yes.
thank you.
All right, time's up.
Number
Todd.
two, AB. Let's see, the NPR. I know I can come here and see it. When is that gonna be, like, digital online or something?
Oh, it's already online.
It
It's
is
in
it?
here.
But I couldn't
Yeah,
find
it's
it.
in the packet, yeah.
In the packet, like on the website?
Yeah,
Somewhere
anybody
on the
wants a
website?
copy of the map plan and report, please.
Okay, good. Thanks.
Available at the town clerk's office, available online to
All right.
print out.
Now, I know, I'm glad you both said it, that we wouldn't pay for connection, but it is awful deceiving in the document that you read so well, that the word may be included. The 20 to 35,000 plus grease traps, well, whatever, but may be included. And I understand what you mean, okay, it legally has to be in there in case somebody else outside the district later wants to join, and you can point to that and say it's gotta cost you 20 to 35,000. Okay, I get that in theory, but the document still says it may be included, including the initial project, and waived for properties hooking up in the initial designated section. But it still says may be, I just don't, not that I don't trust,
Yeah,
I don't
this
trust
is
you,
all-
but I do trust you.
And
And you said maybe. But you didn't,
No,
no,
I
you didn't
didn't
say
say
maybe.
maybe.
You didn't say maybe,
um,
but the document says
Because
maybe.
I don't write legal resolutions either, so it's,
So the lawyer.
Your language-
it's the lawyer.
No,
Hang
trust
on.
the lawyer.
No. I find myself in a rare position defending lawyers. The state mandates this language, okay? And so we
I
have to
understand the
present the
rationale.
language. The map plan and report has to express the cost for EDU, taking out any potential, and we've already told you, and I'm about to tell you more ways that we are hoping and attempting to get the number down. It has to show just the cost. Next up, you got
All right,
about a
thanks.
minute left.
Yeah, the District 2 assessing term, let's see, lands benefit, all 50 properties. What about vacant properties? I haven't looked at the document to see if vacant properties, because there's quite a few large vacant south and a
Yeah.
little bit east.
Yeah.
Now, do they have EDUs attached to them now? Oh, they're one.
They just
Okay.
get one for now because they are benefited, but once they build on it, like everybody else, right, it's all based upon flow, and so they will be contributing. And, yeah, that's how that works.
Thank
All
you.
right. Thank you all very much. All right, so, Bob, you didn't sign, but did you want to make
I
a
thought I
couple
did.
remarks? Good.
Yeah, we got Steven Sabona first.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Sorry.
Oh,
Steve, I'm so sorry. Please, come.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. Thanks for inviting us here. So my brother Danny and I own Savona's Trottery. It's 7249 South Broadway, and we actually own the house next to it. We opened up the restaurant 7 years ago, and we've been blessed by the town, the village, the surrounding neighborhoods to have a wonderful business. We employ about 35 full and part-time employees. We serve probably 1,500 to 2,000 lunches and dinners every week. We've been very blessed. The only thing we haven't been blessed by is our sewer system. So we bought an existing building from the previous tenant who didn't have high capacity and a very small septic system. So unfortunately, our system is failing, and we are in the situation now where if this doesn't go through, we are going to have to build a new one. It's going to cost over $100,000, and that doesn't even guarantee that it will, work for us if we get busier in the future. And also, it does. We have limited space on our property, so we're not even sure if, when we do that sewer system, if it's going to limit us to do anything else. The other part about that is that we're blessed once again to be, supported by so many in the community, that we wanted to expand the existing building and put a party room for events for people's birthdays and, anniversaries, rehearsal dinners. And unfortunately, we can't do that because we're at capacity where we are now. If this does go through and we are able to get municipal sewer and we're working on municipal water, then we would be able to look to expand the property and to build an addition on it, to be able to grow our business and to hire more people. So I think that's really basically all we wanted to say. That so obviously we're on the need part of this, and obviously we understand that, you know, there's people that maybe we might not work for, but we just wanted to say our side of it. So that's it. So thank you for
Appreciate it.
Thanks.
Mr. Ross.
Am I the leg man? I find myself in an unlikely position to support this whole project.
We'll take it.
For suburbans and everything like that. I mean, the problem, I'd like to go back to the sheet as far as the annual cost per EDU of $2,600. It does seem, the numbers are the numbers, I'm sure you've got them right, but it does seem high compared to Boston, a lot of big municipalities. That's the only thing I've got to add.
Oh.
But,
We have Boston numbers, we can bring it way down.
yeah, I know.
That's economy of scale. Is the
Having
term.
said that, there's going to be winners and losers and everything else, but we might want to try to address that somehow, because even when I look at, you know, we're putting this project on in the north end of town together, you are, trying to get the cost down, $2,600. Hell, that's almost 3 months' rent of a low-income person. That's for the sewer, that's before anything else, so I mean, we've got to do everything we can do to get the cost of this to the bare-ass minimum.
Okay.
Based on it, that's my only point, really.
Okay.
I mean, you look at $2,600, we stand here saying, oh, that's not that much. That's a lot of money for a lot of people.
I don't think we said it was not that much.
No, but I don't know if you.
But it's also just the first year, it's just the first year, and I point out, and I've mentioned it before, the TNDR on the east side, you know, Traditions was built out and they have their own plant.
Right.
But on the east side, it's zoned for, I think, 100 and...
Yeah, we'll get to it.
Okay, but it's zoned for many EDUs, like almost 200. And it would be a much more inviting development for a developer to come in and put in housing there, which would lower everybody's cost. And I think the hard part about it is that first year and the second year, but as you bring in as people see that there's this infrastructure, it is inviting for other kinds of businesses that will hopefully come to town and put in businesses that can utilize that.
You have to get a water system too, though, to make it a complete package down there. So we're still missing that, it's gonna be a while.
Bob, well, as you know, we got water right down, you know, towards
Well,
our
I've got
property.
water,
You've got water.
I'm not bitching, but I'm telling you the rest of them.
We may not quote you directly on this.
This would be the first time, I think, in history that taxes would go down with more people coming on board. That doesn't really jive. It doesn't
It's not
really happen.
taxes, it's user fees.
Pardon me?
It's not taxes, it's user fees.
User fees. That number is not gonna go down. It'll end up going up
So,
because
John-
more people are in it, so now you're using more, you know, you're disposing of more waste in there, so the cost is gonna have to go up.
John, two things. We proudly say, at least I do, and I know my colleagues join me in saying, town taxes in 2024 were 7% less than they were in 2016, 8 years ago. Town taxes, 7% less. We've had historic non-IBM era growth in this community during the course of that time. We are working on something like our 80th capital project that we've managed to be able to do within that budget without raising anybody's taxes.
Yeah,
That's
but
the
that's
first
for
thing. Hang on,
assessed value, right,
hang on,
Robert?
please let me finish. Please let me finish. I let
Yeah,
you
the
all
7% is per assessed value, not base value, and that's what they're bitching about.
Hang on. The taxes that people pay in dollar terms has gone down by 7%, town taxes in the 8 years, okay? The second thing I would like to say is that no, more users should logically lower the EDU cost. The reason this number is high, and I'll go into some of the reasons now, is that it's over a very small base right now. There are 50 properties. It's rare that you see a sewer district created over a small number of properties. So let's get to what we can do or try to do to get that cost down. But I want to remind you what we're looking for from property owners in this district is just the support to form the district. Once we have that, we can go out and get more grant opportunities. Some of them require, most of them require the district to be formed. So you're asking a question, the cart before the horse. If we form the district, let's go out. We understand you don't want us to go forward, move forward with this project till we get that cost down. We understand that. So we want to take those steps in order to do so, to make it. Linda, I'm going to finish my comments first, okay? And then we'll take more questions. So here are some of the things that we intend to do. We're going to get more grants towards the capital cost. That's that $1,900 figure. We have mentioned before, and we want to remind you, we have some ARPA funding that we got a few years ago. This is the one time that the town can actually appropriate money towards water and sewer efforts. But we must allocate it, assign it. We don't have to spend it, but we have to assign it in 2024. So if you want us, and we are committed to pitch in with this effort, if you want us to contribute towards lowering that capital cost, we can do so, but we need to make that decision this year for you. If we don't form the district, we obviously won't contribute the ARPA funding towards this effort. The village, okay? So the village has historically, for their water outside of their district, said that they are charging town residents and property owners 2 times the operation and maintenance levels, okay? It's a 2 times. We have told the village that they must lower this rate, that O&M rate, that 622 per cost EDU, that they must at the very least, and obviously they're trying to figure out what the annual operation cost of a combined system would be, but we've told them they can't charge us, our property owners 2 times, because that's only going to add to the annual cost. I hope we hear something positive back from the village on this topic, and I hope we hear back soon on that. But we've made it very clear to them that we work with them on many projects, and that are favorable to the finances of the village, and so we want their support in this endeavor.
Robert, does that 622 number, does that reflect the 2 times?
That reflects a 2 times rate, okay? So as we're working towards trying to get these numbers down, these are some of the things that we are talking about and trying and attempting. We talked about future build-out. Bill started to talk about it. We have property owners here with vacant parcels. Once they get built out, that will increase the number of EDUs. I've been meeting with a developer, a hotel developer, for the property on the other side of Hannaford. They are desiring and have hotels elsewhere to build something we all could use in this area, which is an affordable place to stay in Red Hook for lodging. It's a significant size. It also too would have an event space, Steve, so they might need some food for their event space while you're working on your event space. Also talking about doing some a residential component there as well, some offices, and this would be a significant size project. And would contribute a large number of EDUs when built out to get that economies of scale that we're all talking about. And then, one of the things that we can do is we are taking a phased approach and looking for 50,000 gallons. If the hotel developer is ready to contribute to reserve some space, we could go higher than that, but we could also go the other direction, which is to say all we need right now is 30,000 gallons. And so we're only going to contribute that portion of the expansion of the plant, and then we could lower this number a little bit. The problem with that, of course, is that we wouldn't have reserved for expansion, and the whole point is to allow for greater utility of your properties. So, grants towards capital, ARPA from the town has to be done this year, allocated at least. Village, ask them to lower that 2 times rate. Congressional, I didn't mention that we have reached out to our representatives, our US senators, and to our congressmen to get some funding. You heard about the state program. We were the first, I think, to be designated a pro-housing last year because we went to that effort and because we have an exciting project, innovative project in the north part of the village. We were awarded today that $3.4 million. There's more money in those programs, and we intend to explore every possible opportunity to get that number down. So, those are the things that we are willing to do in order to address the annual costs. Again, we ask you to consider what the cost might be to you, and I'll refer back to the example. We expended $60,000 on a moment's notice. And so therefore, we lost out on, whatever that is, $3,000 a year on interest. And we don't have central sewer here. And we don't have anybody to call who will pay for any future repairs to the system. So we respect the fact that you have your individual considerations. We just ask you to fully vet those out as well as you try to consider whether or not you're at least willing to go far enough with us to establish the district, and then we'll continue to work hard, we'll continue to get that number down, and then you all have questions related to timeline. So best case scenario, we get all the grants that we want to get, we get the cost down. You know, you're not looking to construction until sometime in 2025. You're not looking at any kind of expense until sometime in 2026. That's the earliest you would be asked to. And by then, which we've also had in sewer district creations, some of you will have failures. And some of you will be going to county health and saying, please let me do something temporarily because central sewer is coming. And they will want to know, and by the way, the county health is very supportive of this effort because they know we have parcels here that if they experience failure, it would be devastating to their businesses. Parcels that could not be recreated. We have one parcel that has 18 trailer homes. So think about the impact if they were to be rendered unable to continue in their current capacity. We have lots of parcels with many residential units on them. We want to ensure, I think somebody spoke about affordable housing, absolutely right. We don't want to increase the burden on the people in those affordable housing units. Alternatively, we don't want them to be evicted because there's not a proper sanitary situation there, or the water is contaminated, or whatever it is. So again, we ask you to consider the same things that we're considering as we do, once again, yet another public-private partnership, or at least what we hope will be. And we're asking you to consider supporting at least the district formation, and we understand that you want us to work hard to get those numbers down. All right. A couple more questions, and then we have people waiting for waivers here who have learned a lot about sewer district.
Once you create the district,
sir,
and if the funding is not adequate enough, then is that the homeowners eligible and it's all bets are off, or how does that work?
So the nice thing about forming the district is if it's for some reason this year we can't get all that, and again, I've given you some things that are very timely, like we have to assign the ARPA this year towards the project. But if for some reason we can't get any funding to make this really a go, the district's formed. So anytime in the future we can do this. But if if we don't form the district now, the reality is simply like it was 15, 16 years ago was the last time it was attempted. Since then, there have been failures. Since then, there have been properties that have gone through a very difficult process just to put in essentially what was not a complicated business. So enhancement of your property values. If you go to sell your property for some reason during the course of that time for the next 15 years, and you have to advertise it as having central sewer or not having central sewer, I think you know the answer about which one is more advantageous typically to you as a seller.
Thank you. One thing real quick, Mr. Solona, I also want to point out is that we said it in prior meetings, but the grant cycle is every year, and there's 2 basic grants for water and sewer. This year is the first year in anybody's memory that they've said, the state has said, that they are going to be focusing sewer creation grant money on small rural communities. Generally, these are done in cities and big places. This is an opportunity that may not come again. And so I'm looking at it as if that window shuts, it might be another generation before the state decides to do this. And so I see an opportunity that may not exist in the future if we don't move quickly. It's unfortunate that we're in a rush, but that's just what it is.
And the first grant that was mentioned to you is an IMG grant. It's an intermunicipal grant. So because we are working with the village, and it's now would be a combined system, it's eligible for that grant, whereas many central sewer district funding projects are not eligible for it because they're single municipality. So, yeah,
I have
Stephen.
a crazy question, I figured I'd ask it anyway. Is there a possibility that we just voted on getting the district set up and gave everybody a year to see what developed, and then give everybody another opportunity in a year, and that we could dissolve it? If, let's say, for example, with everybody's concerns about cost, obviously is important, and these grants, if they do come through, would probably help a lot of that, alleviate a lot of the concern. So we say we vote the district in and give it a year's time to get these grants, and then after a year, if we get nothing, could we get an opportunity to vote again and say dissolve this district because we didn't get any money? Is that even a possibility? Or
Here's what I would suggest to you, is that we are funding the formation, all of this, all of the engineering work. There's no harm in having the sewer district formed. We recognize you don't want us to move forward until we get the costs, those projected costs down. We recognize that.
Yeah.
So to remove an ability from your property doesn't necessarily, to me at least, make sense, but if that's what the district wanted, fine. Forming the district just means you have options. You don't form the district, you don't have options.
Right.
Yeah.
Marty? So we form the district.
Yeah.
How are we guaranteed that, you're not gonna go ahead anyway? You say that here, but, we don't know that. We're.
That's fair. Marty, that's absolutely fair, but that's why we're having this conversation. That's why we're willing to allocate, once you form the district, we're willing to allocate ARPA funding towards it. So we've already succeeded. We're gonna, that number, we're not sure of what it exactly will be, but it'll take the cost down, somewhat. And then the grants, we're gonna see how this all transpires. Yesterday, we didn't have $3.5 million for the north side for wastewater. Today we do. So you're asking us to do something that we don't have the capability of, but we recognize, you're hearing us. We're not gonna move forward until we get that number down.
I'm asking you for a guarantee. We form the district and you don't get the money, then we don't go ahead.
We're not gonna go ahead unless we get grant funding. Is that what you wanna hear?
Yeah.
Is that what you wanna hear?
No guarantee.
I just don't wanna be caught in a spot where it's like, well, that number wasn't the number I was thinking of versus that. Yes, we recognize that the number needs to come down before.
I just know one thing, that cost, we couldn't afford that cost. I might as well hand you over the property.
We
couldn't afford that cost.
Yeah.
That's tough.
We recognize that, and we just ask you to also keep in mind that if something were to happen to the sanitary systems in place on your property, what does that cost? And just compare the two.
He's got a guy.
What's that?
We all got a guy, all of us, let's face it, we all have someone we know that will come in.
You know, everybody thinks they have a guy until your system collapses. But
You need him, we'll give you a
I think there's a
You
couple of other.
you have a guy, but you also have code.
Right.
And
Right.
code,
The county came out and told us what the code was, and we
Yeah.
provided everything up to
It's
it.
not even a year old.
You know, but the
That's
thing-
on- that's on
there's
the
a couple
one.
of other
That's on the
points
one.
I think, you know, and, you know, we understand, it's, you know, it's a lot of money, and we have to present the highest possible cost.
We're
We
required
can't
by
tell
law.
you, we can't come in here and say, but we could do it for $3 million. And then someday, you're all gonna come back in here and say, you said you were gonna do it for $3 million, and now it's $4.2 million, and you lied. So we have to come in with what the highest possible cost is, that's reasonable, right? So this is what we think is realistic budgeting, and we're gonna work now to get it down.
You know, there's
And
one
I
cost.
understand, everybody, you know, everybody, as soon as you do zoning, everybody says, well, what does this mean on my exact property? The concept is great, but what does it mean on my property? But we also have to be looking at, you know, this area, we live over our drinking water. So all of the problems with maybe other people's septic systems are gonna affect your water, because we don't have central water, everybody's on wells. So, and there's proposed and research happening on new regulations and new updates that are gonna affect all of that. So even though you think you're fine, you've got a brand new septic system, your neighbor's septic system goes, 3 neighbors' septic system goes, heaven forbid Savona's septic system goes, we all got a big problem now. And there's no money right now for central water systems, but there is money for central sewer systems. So if we fix one, we hopefully will not have to have a problem with the other. The other thing that we hear pretty consistently is we need more businesses. Taxes are too high. There's nothing to do here, or blah, 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 all of those, right? This is a way to hopefully provide for more businesses to come into this business district. Our goals and our plans are to support the village and to have this traditional neighborhood development, that's what TND means, to extend that feel and that look so that we don't end up with, you know, strip mall kind of development between here and Hannaford. And we have some lovely properties that still have buildings on them from previous uses, whether it was a car service area or whatever. And they have big leach fields with them. So there's nothing else that can happen on some of these properties, or properties that are vacant. And you need a certain concentration of units, like Traditions, who could actually do their own system because they had enough units available, because it was already zoned for that on that property. So if the sewer system is in place, frees up all those areas that are now locked up into leach fields and whatnot, there will be an opportunity for current owners to look at different uses of their property. As Robert mentioned, there's an immediate benefit to a property because now it has sewer. And somebody else, a potential buyer, could say, oh, I could do this extra. I could do this much more. I can put more houses in. I can knock down the building that's there and put a bigger business building, whatever that might be. So there's a lot of things, the goals that we have all said that we want for Red Hook that are really tied to this project. And there's all of these things that are lining up right now for us to try for. So we have the money, we can do the district. We are saying to you, we hear you. We know this is expensive. We know it's scary. We have plans. We're gonna try our darndest to get the cost down as low. It's not gonna be nothing. It's never gonna be nothing. So it is gonna cost something. But as someone mentioned, we all have costs anyway. We're all pumping our tanks, or we're all having maintenance. So there's money that's being spent that could go towards this. But we're gonna do, all we can say is we are gonna work as hard as we possibly can. We are gonna find every dollar that we possibly can. But this is really a historic moment for our town that is not going to come again. The money is for small rural communities. That is us. We have a plan. We're moving really fast, but we have to move fast. And I'm sure that that is also part of making everybody feel uncomfortable. Why do you have to move so fast? We don't have a choice. And if we don't do this, it's only gonna get more expensive, and we're gonna pay for it in this way, or a water system, or something. So it's not, if we don't do it, everything stays as it is. Things are coming, regulations are changing, we know places are having problems, so there's gonna be impacts, even if we choose to do nothing. So we're hoping that you will trust us. I know it's hard to say, trust your politicians, but work with us, right? Come to these meetings, ask the questions, sign up for the regular announcements so you know when everything is happening, and work with us to see if we can really make this happen.
I just want to make 2 quick points. One is, I've thought about this in the context of a catastrophic failure for certain kinds of businesses for which the county's Department of Health would take a very critical eye. And some of those businesses employ people who have to earn a living, and that's their job. And if the county comes in, and they will come in and shut down a business until it's corrected, but if you have to write a check for $40,000 and you don't have the money, there are going to be people who are employed in our town who may not be able to, there will be a work stoppage perhaps for them. And I think about those things down the road, and I can speak from personal experience. I moved here 11 years ago. I had my house inspected, my septic inspected, everything was fine. The tank was pumped, it was clean, they sent the camera down and everything looked great. 8 months later, my wife calls me at work and says, we have a problem. I smell stuff in the back. I come home, both the dry wells collapsed. I had to write a very painful check on the spot to have a company come in with excavating equipment and dig them out and put in new dry wells. I did not appreciate that. And so what I would say is, we can all say our system is fine until it's not, but from personal experience, I can tell you that there are no guarantees. And I think you have to live with that.
Yeah, we had a party at our house, and we were showing some people around the outside of the house. We walked over the septic tank, around the house, came back, and there was a huge hole because the septic tank collapsed. 5 minutes later, we would all been in the septic tank. And it was fine. It passed all the inspections. So, you just never know.
Well, that's an image to leave you with.
We can all lead it together.
The big hole called the TND. Any more questions?
You want to continue this?
Any more questions? So at this time, if not, I'd like to make a motion that we continue this public hearing. We continue to get your feedback. We continue to ask you to consider joining with us to form this district. And we will continue to work hard to try and get what you need and want for your properties. So let's entertain a motion to continue to June 11th. I don't think we have anything yet. 7:35 p.m.
So moved.
All in favor? Thank you all very much.
When's the next meeting on this?
June 11th.
7:55.
7:35.
7:30.
Don't be late. Linda, you're signing up for notifications, so you don't need to guess, right?
Is that on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter?
You raise your right hand. No, you go on the town website.
Renacom?
You go on town website.
Got it.
Okay, thanks. Okay, waiver folks, thank you very much. We appreciate your patience. We'll obviously be hiring you as sewer consultants at a discounted rate. What's that?
Do you need me to continue?
Oh, no, you're all welcome. Thank you very much. Simonis, thank you. We appreciate all of you that came tonight. Okay, so we have some resolutions. Resolution number 41, well, let's see, we have,
You're going to item 2, moratorium waivers?
I'm going to item 2 and skipping over.
Okay.
Yes, well, gosh, we
No,
made them
that's
wait
great.
so long. Okay, well, we're gonna go to Bathburg first, okay, since they waited 80, how many years? So this isn't so bad, 2 hours. Connie, how do you like the store now and what's going on with it? Good. It's good. I was in the new Stickles the other day. What I call the new Stickles.
Was everything 5 cents or 10 cents?
Yeah, right, like that. It was 5 cents updated for today's pricing. So we do have a resolution 41, entertaining a approval of a waiver for Bath Rec. We do have it somewhere. Mine are always out of order. Okay, authorizing Gregory and Elizabeth Bathrick project from the provisions of local law 1. Folks, in your packet you have both a message from our building and zoning. You also have a review memo from Tom and Bond, taking a look at the parcel which has been reviewed, by the way, by DEC, a designated wetland, updated as of May 13th of this year. The parcel, which is adjoins Shook's Pond, and this is over by the golf course. And did you have any questions about any of the information that's been provided to you?
Pretty straightforward.
Okay. And you can see from, projects like this and other projects we saw last week, and another project tonight, where there would be significant restrictions on lands within 300 feet, that could really render a change in the utility of those parcels as well. We're eager to see what DEC is going to come up with as far as their rules associated with the new law passed in 2022. Any questions? If not, okay.
I guess my only question was in the language of the resolution. In some of the other ones, we asked for copies of various permits to be provided to the town. We didn't include that in the language here for the Article 24 permit. Could we just ask for a copy of that?
Okay, which permit are you looking for?
The MRC Article 24
I think
permit.
they did provide it.
It was provided in the
Yeah, it was
packet.
provided to,
Okay.
no, I remember seeing it, yeah.
Yeah, it is provided. Yep. Any other questions? All right, I'd like to move resolution number 41, approving the waiver.
Second.
Thank you, Christine. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor, Jacob, Julia,
Aye.
William. I'm sorry, I should have dragged it out so it was worth all the wait. All right.
I only heard 4 ayes, so.
Well, you only need 3.
You get 2 to make a motion, and then you get 3 other votes, so you got 5.
Thank you.
Now, hopefully the cost of construction didn't go up too much in the 2 hours that you were here.
Well, no, I bill by the hour.
With the attorneys here, that's all we ever need is an attorney, right? That gets the house built. Thank you all very much for your patience. Wish you the best of luck, and do let us know what you think of the new restaurant at the country.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Okay?
Oh, I look forward to seeing you there.
Yeah, great.
Welcome back.
Terrific. Thanks.
Oh, thank you very much. Oh, thank you.
Thanks, Connie. All right, well, that concludes tonight's meeting.
Which one next?
Uh, I guess we have to do the Adrian Trust. Christopher Valley and Adrian Truscott. This is resolution number 42. How long have you waited for this? Not the waiver, wait a second, no, we don't want that out there. How long have you waited to build this house? It's been how many years now?
Over 10.
Over 10 years. So the challenges of having property with wetlands, beautiful, serve an important purpose, and then they change on you, and then they have impacts, right?
Wondering if we could be included in the district.
You made District 2.
That's a lot of
Once we
piping
get
out
it
there.
to, once we get it to 9G, we'll get it up to Freeborn Lane for you, yeah, no sweat. But you do have to bear the cost of connecting it from 9G to Freeborn.
Might not be cheap.
Okay. Local law 1 was the moratorium law, and we do have an application, and the address is 39 Freeborn Lane. Talks about, it's a replacement house, by the way, and septic system. It's located currently outside of the 100-foot regulated adjacent area for the wetland. But of course, if there were to be regulations that increase that buffer at the beginning of the year, it would have a significant impact upon the plan. The wetland was delineated on October 2017. County Department of Behavioral and Community Health will require any replacement home on the subject site to be served by a new on-site septic system. Such a system will be required to meet the regulatory setbacks. This is a memo from our engineer, and then we have a memo from our building and zoning showing that it is impacted by the moratorium itself. Any questions on this one? Okay. And the recommendation, there's no objection by the engineers to approve this. Resolution number 42, authorizing the waiver regarding Christopher. Can I call you Chris? Is that okay? You like Christopher better, don't you?
I go by my middle name, Carmine.
Carmine, I know. That's why I didn't understand why it said Christopher. Carmine Cavelli and Adrian Truscott, project from the provisions of local law 1 of 2024. And is there a second? Second. Thank you. All in favor, Jacob Testa.
Aye.
Christine Kane.
Aye.
Julia Solomon. Okay, well, there could be some moonlight out there. Get hammered.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Make sure they're aware of the conditions
Yeah. In the
about the
approval.
snow fence. There's some conditions of the approval, such as the erection of a snow fence around the 100-foot regulated wetland area, and a site-specific delineation by a licensed land surveyor. So just want to make sure you saw it.
The construction provisions, yeah. Okay. Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
I appreciate your patience, and Adrian, thank you for your work on the housing committee.
My pleasure. This
Good.
was really informative to listen to. So thank you for the extra 80 minutes.
We didn't have our meeting
Well,
this
you're
week,
welcome
so you
then.
had to have some.
It was,
We didn't have our housing committee.
Both, I'm being facetious and
Yeah.
completely genuine, to be honest.
Thank you very much.
Have a nice thing.
Okay, we have one other, don't we?
Dan Leslie.
We have
Leslie.
Dan Leslie up in that neck of the
The
woods
old
as
farm
well.
got,
The what?
25 old farm got full.
No.
So you should have Daniel Leslie.
Oh, those are some correction on
Oh,
the
okay.
tradition ones. There were just some technical corrections. We have resolution number 43 regarding Daniel Leslie project from the provisions of local law 1. So we have the applications of 15.76 acre parcel at 32 Gusky Road. We have a memo from our engineer, Brandy Nelson, who is still with us here at this late hour. It's specifically seeking relief from the moratorium regarding on any application development alteration within 300 feet. The applicant submitted a copy of the DEC freshwater wetland permit, which permits 1,570 square feet of disturbance within the regulated adjacent area of freshwater wetland. CM23, so long as the conditions of the permit are met, they recommend approval, no objection to the town granting a waiver, as referenced in the Article 24 permit. We have our memo from our building and zoning. The intrusion into the buffer district, Brandy, did we quantify that?
That's the 1,570, yeah, they have no impact in the wetland itself, it's all in the.
Right, it's 1,570 square feet.
Correct.
But the proximity to the wetland itself, did we get a quantification of that, like how close?
No, I don't have any linear feet of that. The plans that were submitted were of such quality that I couldn't discern anything from them.
But DEC has signed off on it.
DEC has granted them a permit.
They granted the permit.
Right.
Resolution 43, any more questions, discussion on that? If not, I would like to put that forward for approval. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, Julia Solomon.
Aye.
Jacob Testa. Christine Kane.
Aye.
We had to make a couple of corrections to previous resolutions. One, there was an incorrect address on Scalise one. So let's make that 44, please. We have the corrected address as 22 Grouse Run. That's all we've got there. So move resolution 44. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Jacob. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Ayes all abound. Okay. On 45, same thing, a correction on one of the parcels also subsequently. I think we're, and just know that another phase was filed, and so there'll be new parcel numbers. I think we already have them, but we didn't have them at the time of approvals as well for tradition. So obviously they got the waiver, they put in the phase, and now they have new tax parcel numbers. So one of the lots, which was lot number 102, was not included in the approval resolution, was included in all the applications. So I'd like to move that correction. That's an amended resolution 45. Is there a second? All in favor? Bill?
Aye.
Christine?
Aye.
Jacob? Okay. Moving right along. Teresa? 2 nights in a row. Sorry to keep you so late. We have resolution number 46. We had to make a couple of technical corrections also to an amended 284 as it relates to well, it was the length. It was the length on here. I'm looking at the resolution, not the 284. I apologize. We had the clarification on Oriole Mills of where it begins and where it stops.
Has anything else changed besides that?
Yeah, on our resolution, is that reflective of that? A proposed revision of number 2A.
This is talks about the use of funds for.
An authorized
Because this is modified
attached
from the
Old Post
last
Road,
approved version.
starting at Spring Lake and leading to US 9, Pitcher Lane Extension, starting at Old Post Road and leading to 9, Fairleigh Lane, starting at 9 and ending at Fairleigh Cul-de-sac.
So it's missing OB and sort of those Sunrise Drive, Sunset Terrace.
What's that?
Well, that's.
It doesn't list the other ones.
Yeah, this resolution isn't listing those other roads.
Because I think originally there were no changes
There are problems today.
to Part B from your previously approved version. There's just the wording changed up.
Well,
Cassie,
it's 2 inches rather than 2.5 inches of paving is part of it.
Oh, is that, okay.
But
Well,
Mills
I'm a little
Road.
confused though,
Yeah,
why
but
the
Oriole Mills
resolution's not
Road is
reflecting.
supposed, is in 2B, not 2A.
Right,
Yes.
In 2A, the bid that I had after this 284 agreement states 2 inches compacted.
right,
In the second amendment, after I changed the Oriole Mills length,
yeah,
it was 2.5 inches compacted. So
Okay.
Chris asked me to correct that, so the final version should have the corrected length for Oriole Mills under
Yeah,
the chip seal.
it does.
And the corrected depth of 2 inches under the paving, the asphalt paving.
It says 2 inches.
It does, that's.
yeah.
So the agreement's
The
correct.
agreement's correct, the resolution for some reason is not. Do we understand why?
Well,
the
it says
resolution-
as more specifically provided in the attached agreement. So the attached agreement now has all the correct, because it says 2 inches here and it says,
The amount of
Oriole
money
Mills
is the same,
Road.
so-
You already approved that other change. right?
0.75.
This is only because of the change to the 2 inches.
Yeah, I understand, but the resolution doesn't really reflect
Doesn't
that.
mention it.
It doesn't mention these other roads. The resolution only mentions
We're
three.
talking about the award resolution or the 284 resolution?
284.
The 284 resolution only mentions Old Post Road North, Pitcher Lane Extension to Fairlane.
Well, we're only trying to amend A, right?
Well, we clarified on B, on Oriole Mills.
In
Yeah,
the
but
amendment, in the
you
attached.
did that prior, you did that prior, yes.
I don't think we
Talked
did.
about it at the last meeting, which is.
I
why
don't
we
think we
didn't act on
did,
it.
so I'd like to suggest that we amend resolution number 46 before voting on it. To say, also, we amend to B as it relates to the length and location on Oriole Mills Road.
Let's just list the roads, it should just say the road starting at X point, lead to Y point.
Well, it's
That's what all the
it's an
other ones are.
amendment resolution, I mean, we can do that, we could excerpt that out. Why don't we do that, why don't we, that's a better suggestion, Jacob, thank you. Why don't we just simply insert 2B on the amended agreement, and add that to number 1, and say, the town board hereby amends number 2B, and then list, exactly the verbiage that's here on the agreement itself. So this way the resolution matches the 284.
I'm sorry, I lost, can you just repeat how you want the resolution to read?
The resolution's gonna read as it reads now, except we are going to amend it to include below, at the bottom of number 1,
Yeah.
that the town board hereby also amends number 2B
Of the
The
blah,
two-
blah, blah.
of the
284.
284 agreement.
Right.
And then list on the road commencing it, yeah, it's read exactly as it reads here on the agreement itself.
Okay.
All right, this way there's no
So it's just
confusion.
restating the whole.
The whole thing.
Okay.
It's more than we probably need, but at least there won't be any confusion. The resolutions match, and I don't know why I haven't flipped page in a while. Okay, 46, and I so move. Is there a second? Jacob? Okay.
Yes.
Christine, Julia, Bill?
Aye.
We have, moving on, paving. Teresa, thank you for preparing the bid documents as they relate to paving. So this is an OGS contract. Oh. I don't know where we can.
You're not on the agenda, you're still on that presentation.
Can you tell us? Okay, New York State OGS Contract Award 23, 291, comprehensive.
Now you're in the NPR.
Yeah, I know, well, we're not gonna get that without significant swells.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
don't look. Okay.
360 pages.
So a 2024 quick quote from A. Colarusso and Son, contractor pursuant to procedures established for the OGS Award 23-291. And again, it lists the roads to be paved under the 284 agreement. Now therefore be it resolved by the town board of the town of Red Hook, the execution of a paving contractor for the project for an estimated cost of $262.50, subject to the provisions of the certificate of insurance as required by the specs. Any questions? Here's the contract draft prepared for us by our attorney. Any questions on that? All right, I believe we're on 47.
Yep.
And I so move.
Second.
Jacob's, okay. All in favor, Bill,
Aye.
Christine?
Aye.
Myself. Aye.
Thank you.
Julia.
I think Jacob got the second.
Julia.
You moved, Robert. Are you?
Somebody did. Okay, as we mentioned, oh gosh, I'm gonna have to scroll. I don't know what that did, but, as we mentioned earlier, I think Mingarelli came up and asked about the west side, for folks, as was mentioned in the mailing to all residents, in the fall, that we would be, doing work to establish the trails on Cookingham West in anticipation of opening those trails. We are going to put in the fencing and going to support the farm roads, provide some footing so that it's appropriate for walking and biking these trails. And so we put out about a month ago, Brandy, something like that. And actually extended the contract, the bidding period. Oh Lord.
A little bit further.
Oh Lord. For the folks at home.
There you go.
Yeah, okay. Do we have?
Maybe it's still a little,
This is still having expired ago.
Oh, that's the highway.
but the resolution is right.
Yeah, don't look at the screen, folks, you'll
Yeah,
get,
that's it.
here's the
Yeah.
resolution, we're on 48. We had bids come in, we actually had quite a few bidders on this project, more than I thought we were going to have. And we had some alternates. It was mentioned to us during the period that we might benefit from taking a look at locust posts and rails, which, you know, have a very good track record for fencing and longevity. Tricky to nail into, I will say, as somebody who has locust posts also. And when we look at that as an alternate, it really changes the total cost of the project significantly, and it's already expensive, quite frankly, to do all this fencing. The great news about having all these wonderful long trails is also the bad news, is every time you try to improve them, it's on a per unit basis. Here's the image for the folks at home. If you'd like to pan, just to remind everyone again, that we are going to have trails that connect to the rec park and you know, through Cookingham West. Some of this is already in existence and just needs to be supported, but we do want to delineate the area where people can walk and segregate it from the farming area so we don't have problems in the future, or at least lessen the chances and such. Here are the bids that we did receive, and you can see once we take a look at that alternate, that the low bidder, lowest responsible bid is actually by Colarusso, who you know, maintains also materials that would be significant to this type of project. And so their bid with alternate was $331,419. And this is a black locust hardwood split rail fence. The rail fence provided shall be 3 mixed hardwood split rails. This is in lieu of the western red cedar split rail, which includes posts and 3 rails, all made of red split cedar. Anything on mixed hardwoods that we should know about for the rails, Brandy? Can we control that at all?
I think it's gonna be what is readily available to the contractor.
Yeah.
So it may be a variety of things, but, you know, a little less splintery maybe, but reasonable durableness similar to the cedar.
And again, the posts are, anybody who's owned a fencing project knows the posts are the most significant part of the project, especially with split rail. Because you can replace the rails a lot easier than the posts. Any questions, folks? Well, very exciting. It's for the folks at home. Still going to take a little while. Mother Nature has a say over every capital project, construction project that we do. It will take, we think at least 6 weeks to get all the materials here in place. So, you know, we're really realistically looking at a late summer opening of the trails. And just as a reminder, we're not yet at the point where those trails will connect to Rec Park. We'll have to apply for yet another grant in order to construct a bridge over the Salk Hill, but when and if we're able to do that, you know, we think that'll be a tremendous benefit to the community. So, 48.
Yep.
48. Resolution authorizing the award bid for Pickenham Trails project. We issued the bid, notice of public bids April 25th. Sealed bids were publicly open and read at Town Hall on May 22nd, a week ago at 10 o'clock. The bid of A. Colarusso and Son in the amount of $457,503 for the base bid, but with the alternate deduction of $84,000 and $42,000 and change for a total contract price of $331,419. Has been determined to be the lowest responsible bid for such work as specified in the specifications. Cassie, did you write that? As specified in the specifications.
I did not write this one, actually.
On file
Can't
with
take
clerk.
credit for it.
Now therefore be it resolved by the town board of the town of Rec as follows. The supervisor is authorized to accept the bid of A. Colarusso and Son at a total price of $331,419 and not $1 more, including alternate 1, and to execute a contract in such the form provided by the specs subject to the provision, certificate of insurance, bonds, and further documentation as required. And I so move. Is there a second?
Second.
Christine? All in favor? Julia?
Aye.
William?
Aye.
Jacob? Brandy? I think we're finished with it.
Would you like to hear about the police?
If you would like me to say
Robert,
this again.
Christine?
Before,
Yeah?
excuse me, before she leaves, do you want to go back to sewer briefly to go over the seeker findings, because she prepared those?
Well, that's a good point. Thank you, Chris. Brandy?
Yeah.
We take that back.
So close.
Because
You went fast enough.
we did want to go back to number 1, thank you. We were going to start our part 2 and part 3 tonight. While we're not going to take action in the declaration on the seeker, we do want to at least review it, if you wouldn't mind, for a few minutes, so that we are familiar with impacts to the project.
Jason, would you mind if I just interrupted for a minute?
Sure.
And then I'll ask my question and then I can go.
Sure.
Please.
Yeah.
When will there be an answer on the request that was submitted for the increase in the uniform budget that I sent a few weeks ago? Have you discussed that at all?
We have not.
Okay, I'll bring it up for my report at the next meeting.
Sure, we'll
Perhaps
take-
at your next meeting, it can be something that you can discuss.
Yeah, we'll take it up then.
And if you
for the
need me to
reminder.
resend it, I can.
Would you please?
Yep.
Yes, thank you.
All right,
Yeah.
thank you.
Um, Okay, let's go back, shall we? Oh, there we go. The part one.
That's part one, yes.
Okay. So on we go. There's the map, right? Okay, we have the description of the action. And here's part two.
So above was the description, this is the part 3 findings, but they were first.
Say that
The
again.
narrative.
This is the narrative of the
Yeah.
part 3 findings that you just passed.
I just passed the narrative part three. Okay.
Yeah, but you don't need to do it now, but that's not the,
Right.
that's not the part 1.
They had the part one up just a minute.
Yeah, you had part 1 up just a minute ago.
But we're on part two now, right?
Yes.
Okay. So let's do that,
Okay,
shall we?
yeah.
Okay. Impacts on land. No or small impact may occur. I noticed we don't have, anything for coastal area.
So, seeker part two, has, I think it's 17 categories that you're gonna go through and
Yeah.
look at. If there's, absolutely no impact on it in the first box for each category, we've checked no. If there's even a small impact, we've checked yes, and then there are some additional, threshold questions that we look to see if they're no or small impact versus moderate to large. And so if you wanted to go through each category, that's what you've got up there. Just-
Yeah, so, geological, we've got nothing there. Surface water, potential impacts, no or small impact events.
So we say yes to impacts to surface water because this will include a discharge of effluent at the village's plant, but all the threshold questions were all marked no to small.
Okay, impact on groundwater. We don't have no or yes. You know that.
Yeah, unfortunately, whatever happened with that version is different than my version, so.
It's also different than my version.
Yeah, so impact on groundwater was marked yes,
Yes.
but all the threshold questions were marked no to small, and actually this has a beneficial impact potentially on the
Right.
groundwater. And then on number 5, impact on flooding is marked no.
Yeah. Impacts on air,
No.
plants and animals, agricultural agricultural resources, and that's because there is one parcel
So
that's
we
currently.
do say yes because one of the parcels is in the agricultural district.
Right.
And so in the,
Impact aesthetic resources, no,
correct?
it's an underground project. Impact on historic and
That
archaeological.
should be marked yes.
Yes.
It should be marked yes.
Yeah.
I don't know why it's coming off
It's,
on that.
it's like all the yeses didn't come through in that PDF.
And the no on number 2 didn't come through.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know,
But it's on this, it's on our printed.
I know we've,
It is
I know
on your
we've
printed forms,
reviewed our
okay.
Adobe subscription, so I'm not.
Yeah,
quite
you have
sure
to
why that's
Pay
not-
for the upgrade.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
impact on historic and archaeological, we marked that as yes, but the threshold questions were all no to small.
And that's because we have St. Margaret's.
We
in
have
the district.
several historic buildings that'll be, particularly St. Margaret's, yeah.
Impact on open space and recreation.
Say no.
Critical, we don't have any CEAs in our community.
Right,
just
so
for the
no
folks at
impact.
home. Impact on transportation. Energy's not marked on this Adobe.
It should be yes,
Yes,
with no to small for all the threshold questions.
yeah.
And yours is yes.
Noise is yes, as there will be some construction noise, so all the threshold questions were marked no to small.
And impact on human health, we can make an argument that it's beneficial, but we have no immeasurable impact in our discussion draft here. Consistency with community plans. Now, why do we have that checked out?
Well, so the proposed action is not consistent with plan, so
Oh, right,
the
it's
proposed
a
action
double
is
negative.
consistent,
Right,
yeah,
that's the double negative, yeah. Okay.
Negative declaration.
right.
Community character, same thing, double negative. Okay. So, and then, you know, so far, we are thinking, potentially that this could be a neg-deck situation, and so, we do have some draft language to that effect. We also had some responses, by the way, so far on lead agency, from our planning board and from the village trustees. We haven't yet heard back from the village planning board. I know they are holding a special meeting next week. I'll be in attendance. That's what we have so far. All right, well, that's,
I have a couple of questions on the part 3 narrative. Are we doing part 3 right now or no?
sure, if you wanted to discuss the draft, obviously, we're not going to
Right.
act on anything, but let's
So,
do that.
I mean, well, so one is not that consequential, it's more of like a editing kind of thing, but the impact on agricultural resources, it says the project is partially located on farmland. I just wondered if we could specify that it's only that one parcel, if it's kind of misleading as it's written
Sure,
right now.
yeah, I can add that.
Okay.
And then on page 1, in the paragraph just below the bullets, about the relationship with the village and their secret process, can you just explain to me the interrelationship between the studying that they're doing and their environmental review and our environmental review?
So we're trying to thread a little bit of a needle here by making sure that this seeker review is broad enough to cover all the actions that are going to be directly or indirectly undertaken by the town board. So by sending wastewater flow to the village, we're going to increase wastewater flow, which adds, that's our impact to surface water that we covered in the EAF. But we are not undertaking the detailed review of the impact of the plant, and so we're saying in the part 3 that, we relied on earlier information for when the plant was originally built to draw conclusions about there being no environmental impact, and that there will be a separate detailed review of the plant once the design is in place.
Okay.
Does that,
I think so.
you think it needs to be tweaked a little
No,
bit?
I don't
'Cause
know. I mean,
we
it-
struggled with it, honestly.
It feels like we're threading a needle in the way that it's written here, but I'm not sure. I think it's okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
chronologically, the way it's
Yeah.
working, if we're doing seeker for the purpose of this grant application,
Right.
the information that
Well,
we
can I just,
have-
Robert, it's not really that.
Yeah.
So Julia, I think that's a good question. Maybe we can try to clarify that language a little bit more. I think that what the goal is that the town is considering the impact of its 50,000 gallons.
Okay,
Right.
yeah.
In
Exactly.
connection with its consideration of the sewer expansion.
And
It doesn't
simultaneously
know
the
what
village
village
is-
gonna do
right.
That's
in terms
right.
of the potential expansion, so we're not able to really study that at this point in time.
Right.
It's not so much about the design or the grant schedule, it's really about what is the town considering that it has sort of control over, if you will.
Right, but because the grant, yes, exactly. The grant is dictating that we do the review, and at this time, we know what we are proposing.
And
Part of the
can
project, the
analyze
village
that.
is separately proposing. There'll be overlap in the environmental
Right.
reviews, and they'll be done at different times, and certainly at the time of construction, there'll be more detailed design, and that will, again, be subject to seeker, so this will be multiple opportunities.
No,
No.
our construction is not subject to further seeker. The point is that this proposal is trying to study the environmental impact of
From
this,
our project,
this project
this project,
only,
yes,
right? Because if the
Yes.
village, for example, decided to sewer the rest of the village all at once,
right,
have a different impact than just a small package expansion, which is what
Right.
we're looking at.
right,
So that's all we looked at was the part that related to our work, which is not necessarily, it's not determinative of what the village might do.
right,
Right, this piece can go forward theoretically by itself,
right.
although it's likely to go forward with other pieces, we don't know that, and we can't predict that, so this is what we're studying.
Okay,
That's
thanks,
helpful.
Chris, that's helpful.
The information that's available at this time, yeah. Okay. Any other questions about part 2 or 3? Be good to, if you have any comments, to have them, maybe get them in before our next meeting, so we don't have to spend too much time on seeker, because we have other actions that we'll need to take, and we'll need to get some more feedback from the public, and more referrals, hopefully will be coming in at that time. All right. Well, I think we can say thank you to Brandy at this time.
Thank you,
Good
Brandy.
evening.
Brandy.
Thank you, Brandy.
Safe drive home.
Safe travels, really. We'll see you at 6 a.m.
Yeah. Right, I think we should. All right, have a good evening, everyone.
Thank you
You
so
too.
much for all your work. Okay, I think that concludes the main agenda items except for reports. So I'm gonna ask folks if we could just do like a 1 minute, if we could, on, I'm not looking at you, Christine, in particular at all.
Actually, it's a relatively short report for that.
Relatively speaking, yeah.
Building.
Slacking off.
And then we have some correspondence as well. So let's quickly do board reports, please. Will our resident 30-year law enforcement officer please give the police report?
So for the month of April, the Village Police Department reported to us that they responded to 105 incidents or calls in the town, and another 25 in Tivoli, who also contracts for their services. They issued 29 moving violations, issued 8 parking tickets, and made 3 arrests. It was a busy month for them by all relative standards, but then again, once the weather gets warm, people are out. So that's the police report, and all the details are behind there for people to read.
Yeah. Building and zoning, you want to do that one as well? Bill?
Sure.
Okay.
So for May, there were 51 permits issued. They conducted 121 inspections. From April into May, they issued 13 either certificates of occupancy or completion. They received 2 complaints and generated almost $17,000 in revenue. I do want to point out, while it was not a record month, which was last month, it's very high, and I alluded to this last month, but I'll be a little blunter this time. There was a lot of concern from the public when we issued and passed the moratorium, and we heard a lot of comments that this is going to shut down business and construction in the town. I don't think that has been the case. And in fact, if anything, we've probably issued more building permits and done more construction than since I've been on the town board.
We're at the highest levels since the post-IBM era here in the town of Red Hook. We'd like to remind folks that while Red Hook is recognized as a smart growth leader, there are 2 words in smart growth, and we're committed to at least attempting to do both. And it would be smart of you to try to keep this to 60 seconds.
Okay, ready to go. All
Recreation.
right, so this is the rec department report for Monday, as of Monday, May 13th. As you can imagine, a lot of things related to getting all the facilities open at our various parks and turning things on and making sure they work, fixing leaks, finding unexpected damage, etc. So a lot of time devoted to that. The south parking lot has now had new LED lights installed with sensors. And so now every single light in the park is now LED. So we should be, that was a big effort, took a long time particularly to get that south parking lot done. Lots of work of preparing the ball fields and the turf field, getting ready for the high school teams particularly to use it for baseball. And the rec club, the rec department co-sponsored the annual fishing contest this year. It was held on Saturday the 13th. 71 youth entered the contest, and it's very popular every year, and the largest trout caught was 18¼ inches. That's a pretty good size. The acoustic fence panels that we have been waiting for to be installed around the skate park have been continually on back order for a very long time, but they are now saying that actually they may have been delivered by now. They're supposed to come in this week, so we can get those. Hopefully that'll be happening soon then. There's a lot of damage to the stone dust walking track. Got flooded and washed out, and so that has been, like the whole thing was gone. So that's gonna have to take a considerable amount of work to repair that. So the people who use that regularly are having to deal with that, unfortunately. There is now a disabled, accessible, portable toilet at Rec Park West at the edge of the parking lot. So that is good. At least there's some facilities there, and that's an extra $1,400 for the season to have that there. As we mentioned in the announcements for tonight, the summer program brochure is ready, and the sign-ups will be happening on June 8th and June 15th. So all the letters, job offer letters have gone out, so hopefully it's gonna be all fully staffed, and that will be pretty much early, a little earlier than it usually is at this time, so that's pretty cool. Work continues on trying to evaluate whether we should do a disc golf course at Rec Park West, a 9-hole par 3 course. So there's been they walked the area to see where it could go. Now I have to research the cost and setting up and all of that. Unfortunately, every year we replace the safety cushion under the playground on Rec Park East, and unfortunately this year with all the rain and everything, it got rescheduled a number of times, and it has just become, it just got too late to do it. So we may have to do it when it gets a lot warmer, unfortunately, and the playground will have to be closed all day if we do that. The highway department loaded and transported 15 truckloads of soil from the Rec Park pile in the south parking lot to St. Margaret's Home for use in landscaping there in the rear side in front of the buildings. And unfortunately, Teresa's not here, but thank you to the Highway Department for doing that. And on the Rec Park West Connector Trail, hard to say that, unfortunately, there was plastic mesh used where new grass seed was put down on the banks of the stone dust path, which got caught up in the mowers and created the problem. So I don't know why it did that. We didn't, or the contractor was not told not to use that or whatever. But anyway, that was a problem. So I don't think that mistake will happen again. But you know, that's one of those things that happens. They got to fix it. Now you have to figure out how to redo it all, kind of. So that's it.
Thank you, Christine. We appreciate all the work that they do.
Yep.
And you did not meet your 60-second time.
Take it up to next.
Okay, tree preservation. Jacob.
Yep, so the monthly report for May, 3 items. The Final 3 nature walks with third graders at Mill Road School took place on May 9th and 10th. And that's the end of this year's Arbor Day School program. It sounds like those were a lot of fun. Arbor Day celebration follow-up, 60 free tree seedlings and 8 potted plants were handed out. Thanks to the Red Oak Public Library, Red Oak Community Center, and local beekeeper Deb Tuttle for joining us. The committee is going to be working on the landscape design through Rec Park West access path this spring and hopes to do the planting in October.
It was a beautiful day here for Arbor Day this year, and we thank the Tree Commission for all their hard work. Okay, we have a couple pieces of correspondence we want to quickly get through, and then we are going to entertain a motion to go into attorney-client. We have a letter from a resident on Apple Ring. Essentially, I'll summarize, which is need additional signage to direct people to go to Fruit Bud as opposed to Apple Ring for the rec park. And so let's refer this to our highway, well, it's county, and to the rec commission, and let's see if they come up with some kind of recommendation of what we can do to improve that. I know that's been sort of an ongoing issue as people make the wrong turn. I don't know that you can bulletproof these types of situations, but if anything we can do to.
But there were signs in the past.
Yeah.
There was a little sign
Little small
on Fruit
sign.
Bud, there was a little sign that went on top of it that said Rec Park this way.
Yeah.
It disappeared.
Yeah. Okay, so let's,
I wonder if
let's
there's also a
see.
question about the speed limit on that road. It seems like that's one of the other concerns.
It's a county road.
Yeah.
For,
Oh, no, I'm talking
Right,
Linden.
I'm talking about the neighborhood.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
It was
that's,
also mentioned.
Well,
at the same
every town road is requests to lower it, and so, you know, here we are still waiting. We were successful for College Park and Forest Park, and we are still waiting for Department of State to sign off on. But I understand from DOT it's in the next batch, so, but yeah, we'll need to consider this summer, let's take up some more engineering studies and let's get some more roadways lowered if we can. We have some written, I think I mentioned we had a nice info session last night for the Sauk Hill Bridge replacement project. We do have some correspondence from folks on that. The general gist of it was let's preserve the character of the bridge as much as we can. Diversity of opinion though from, you know, the participants, make it wider, put a sidewalk, make it narrower, don't put a sidewalk. Have a shoulder, don't have a shoulder, keep the stone throughout. Just a variety of different opinions. I did get the sense that while a stone bridge throughout isn't really feasible from an engineering standpoint or a resiliency standpoint, that people were at least pleased to see that the entrances on both ends would have stone and would project a sort of a traffic calming effect, and keep some of the potential character for the project. So we'll look for, and we encourage them to do more written comments, and we'll see what the engineers, they're gonna review a couple of suggestions and see about feasibility, like whether or not there could be stone across the top of the middle section and let the water overpass, whether or not that from a feasibility, And just a reminder for you all, if you're not aware, DOT really is the one who says, this is crash tested, this is what we'll allow. It's not really up to us, the funding runs through them, and they have very strict requirements.
There was the piece that was in our packet, included some specific questions about creosote. I don't know who would be the right, whether that's.
Right, so creosote was used in the other bridge replacement, say 15 years ago, down the road. And so I think the concern is, would we do that now? Of course, now you would never do that. But that is what was done in the previous project, and all the character was lost from that replacement project. So people want to be sure that this doesn't end up like that. So, we did discuss the costs, and for the folks at home, everything is so expensive. A little bridge like that is, pushing $2 million almost. So we do have to take that into account when we replace the infrastructure, the balance of the community character, the utility, the resiliency of the infrastructure as well. But I think generally, people, while it was not exactly what they were used to or wanted, I think generally they understood that there were dual interests here. Okay, we have a letter from our county executive, Sue Serino, who we also saw today down at FDR. And it speaks about EMS. I think you all are aware that there is a strain on volunteers to run EMS services in many of these rural communities. For folks at home, as a municipality, we are required to provide fire protection service. We are not required, however, to provide ambulance or emergency service response. And so there are communities that have very expensive contracts with private providers to have that service in their neck of the woods. And then there are those of us who are at the moment fortunate enough to have great volunteers, although those numbers are really quite low on the EMS side, but and they're looking at response time. Nearly half of them took 9 minutes or more. So there are some bills up in Albany that would essentially backstop and provide, kind of like we have sheriff's service here, would provide an extra layer of coverage that could make a difference. And so I think the county exec is looking for us to sign on to a letter to support creating districts. These would also be special taxing districts to fund EMS systems. Removing the expenditures from the property tax cap is one bill. Authorizing the providers to be reimbursed for providing care to a patient at the scene of an incident or transporting them to a non-emergency room healthcare facility, and to allow volunteer firefighters and ambulance workers to claim both the state income and the local property tax credits. As you know, they can only choose between one or the other. So that's from our county exec. Are we supportive of looking into having sort of a backstop countywide response?
Yeah,
And obviously, the devil's in the details, as we heard tonight, and what the cost might be on that.
No, we should find out what they are.
Yeah.
I would say from personal experience that 9 minutes is very generous. I witnessed somebody collapse and go unconscious, and I called 911, it took 21 minutes.
Yeah.
And that's really, it was fortunate, but.
That's all I have, folks. I think for tonight, with the exception of one, thanking you for joining us at home. We appreciate your time as we continue to work towards building upon this great community. Thank you so much. At this time, I'd like to make a motion, we go into attorney-client session. Is there a second?
Second.
Going once, second is Julia, all in favor, Bill Hamel, Jacob Testa, Christine Payne. Thank you all again for joining us.